the weight of it has made it so it's a little untenable for me. This time period, this 3 or 4 weeks of really meditating around it, I think I do feel like something got lost. I think I've allowed it to have a little bit of a spiritual bypass. In retrospect, I didn't know it at the time, but I can feel myself now hiding behind intellectual credibility. I think that I probably wouldn't be able to keep going unless we infuse new life.
Hey, welcome back to the Personality Hacker Podcast. My name is Joe Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
And if you're listening to this episode, Antonia, this is a special episode for us.
It's another big round number.
600.
600.
It feels like we just recorded the 500th episode like
a minute ago?
3 months ago.
I know.
And I'm like, that was 2 years ago almost?
Yeah.
Almost to the day?
Almost 2 years ago. Yep.
I can't believe that we got another 100 episodes.
Well,
time flies.
It's been a
when
busy
you're podcasting.
Yeah. Well, it's been a busy 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of stuff has happened. A lot of traumatizing things have happened in the last 2 years.
To us or the world?
Probably both, I would imagine. I would say that there's in generational theory, we're at the end of a saeculum, right? It's called winter. And if you're into generational theory, which you totally should be because it's an absolutely fascinating concept and theory, we're at the end of like an age. And so everything is getting spicy, getting a little spicy in up in here. And I don't think everybody's had a terrible last 2 years, but we certainly have had a bit of a ride. And so I think part of the reason why it feels like it wasn't that long ago is because I think a lot has happened between then, enough so that life just kind of kept us in a slipstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you've listened to the show for a long time, you might know that every 100 episodes, we usually do a special episode to kind of summarize where we're at. Mm-hmm. Just an arbitrary, at the 100 mark, we decided to do that. And at the 200, we're like, let's do that again. And so we've been doing it every 100 after.
Correct.
So we're at 600 now.
We are.
And I think you've expressed some changes you want to make going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I made a promise to you. It was 500 episodes or 10 years, whichever came first. And then we blew right past both of those. After that, it became 500 episodes or 10 years, whichever comes later. And now we're at 11 and a half years and 600 episodes. So I think I'm really terrible at quitting. But I do feel like I have had an instinct for some time that we need to shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And not because there's anything wrong with the podcast, right? And you and I could probably continue doing this probably forever at this point. You know, you get into enough of a rhythm around something. It becomes part of your identity, right? It becomes part of this is the thing you do. And so podcasting has become the thing we do. And so I don't think we should give it up by any stretch. So if you are a person who listens to the podcast and this is one that you look forward to listening to, don't worry, we're not stopping it or giving it up. But I do think that it needs a little bit of life infused into it. And so I've been doing a lot of meditating around that.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about what that could look like and why I think it needs some new energy or new life put into it. And why I think that I probably wouldn't be able to keep going unless we infuse new life.
Yeah, a few years ago, I was visiting some friends of mine, much younger than me, and they're like, so we started this podcast as an audio-only show back in 2014. We started January 6, 2014. Yep. And we've been doing it ever since.
When we were in the salad days, when we were much younger folk.
And we're pretty much releasing a podcast every week. I think, never missed a week. We had a couple breaks here and there. Twice that we had small little, like the very beginning we had a break, and then when we did our 500 episode, we took a 3-week break before 501.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't know that.
I was upset because the algorithm dropped a bunch of subscribers. I'm like, shoot, we shouldn't have done that.
I didn't know that.
So, but we decided to do that after the 500 because I know you needed a break at that time.
I did. I needed a minute.
Because this is hard to do every week. And I think, so we started as an audio show, and then I was visiting these friends, and they're like, you've got to do video. If you're not on video, you don't exist, at least to younger people. And I'm like, I kind of get what they're saying. I don't have the time to do two things, though. I don't have the time to record an audio. We don't have the time to do audio and then also go and make videos. I know what we'll do. Let's just film ourselves doing the audio podcast.
Well, when we were actually directly told, like, nobody's going to listen to your podcast unless it's a video podcast, which I don't think is empirically true. I will say that almost every single person that was like, you know what, if you had a video podcast, I would watch it. I don't think any of those people watch it. So
well, if you're Chris
we called
or
their
Daniel or who else told us this, and you're listening to this right now, send me a message and say, no, I'm listening to it right now.
They're not.
I know they're not. But it's okay because they still got us moving. Paul was another one that told me.
Yeah, none of these people are like, I would totally do it if you went to video. None of those people watching.
But we did do video, and I think like part of the style is we're filming ourselves recording an audio podcast. So it's a little bit like a voyeur experience. We've got 3 cameras set up.
Yeah.
We don't look at the camera. We're looking at each other.
Yeah.
We're in a studio. We had to make it look nice with lighting and all of that.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like a low grade TV show. Well, it looks like a Bill Maher show or a Theo Vaughn or a Joe Rogan kind of setup, right? It's like a studio where we have 2 mics and we've got lights and we're having a conversation. 2 people having a conversation across from each other. And depending on, you know, what show, and there's other shows too I didn't mention, but those are some I've seen recently in like YouTube. So those setups are kind of what we modeled.
Yeah.
Where like Joe Rogan or Theo Vaughn, they don't look at the camera and address you directly. Something like a Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom, he like looks directly at the camera and addresses it. But we just talk to each other and we filmed it. So it feels kind of third person eavesdropping the way that it's shot.
Yeah.
So that might be what you're talking about. It's kind of like this disjointed. I think it was inherited. We didn't set out to make this a video podcast. We added that element later. So it kind of is almost tacked on the end of it.
Yeah.
But what I maybe hear you saying in this episode, 601, is the new life you might be talking about is we need to build a podcast that's designed maybe video first and not audio being filmed? Or what do you mean by life in it?
No, I don't think that that's what it means necessarily at all. I do think that, I mean, I'm glad you brought up the video piece. And by the way, like when we hit these 100 mark episodes, I feel totally indulgent. Like, I don't care if we like lose everybody in the 100th episode or 600th episode, because it's like when we get to one of these milestones, I'm like, I'm talking for me. I made a milestone, so I get to just be like, I get to enjoy hearing myself talk right now, and I feel very indulgent about that. But so that's the thing that's happening. So if it ends up not particularly, you know, I don't know, being like relevant to personality type theory, I'm totally fine with that on the 600th episode. But I am glad that you mentioned the video piece, because I don't know if I think infusion of life means, I don't think it means anything specific in terms of like, now we're turning towards the camera as opposed to talking to each other, or now we're doing them in shorter segments as opposed to an hour, you know, plus or minus, usually plus. Or, you know, like I don't think it's modality. I think it's actually something deeper than that. I think that when we went to video, the expense rose quite a bit. Yeah. Because when we were doing audio only, you could edit it, and it took usually like an hour, half an hour to an hour tops to edit the podcast usually. Yeah. Yeah. And you got pretty fast and pretty good at it.
Well, we also edited kind of as we went. I had a technique where I could mark it, the edit points.
Yeah, exactly. And so we made it easier on you. And
we didn't have to edit at all. We just riffed the whole time, and it was a perfect, like not perfect. I mean, it was like it was done. We didn't have to edit.
That's true. There were some episodes where we did it in one take, which is kind of amazing, actually.
A lot of them were that way.
Towards
in the audio days.
Yeah, actually, towards the end of the audio only days, we were getting more and more like that. We were like sticking landings and nailing it, and it was very fast. And then when video was suggested by people who are not watching us right now, that promised they would. But when we went to video, the editing became way more complicated, and we had to we needed a professional to do it. So the expense just skyrocketed, and what went from it takes you anywhere between 20 minutes and an hour tops to edit the podcast on your own and get it uploaded. Now we had to we had to capture a bunch of files. We had to capture multi-cameras. We had to capture audio that was separate a track. We had to get it all bundled. We had to send it over. Like, it took all night to upload sometimes because we do it in 4K and, 24 frames at 4K, right? And so big files. And so the what used to be very quick and fast and dirty, quick and dirty, became this production. It was like, it is a full production now. Yeah. And so because of that, was like, okay, now it has to pay for itself. Now it has to be a thing. Now we have to make sure that we're like really getting ROI on it.
And we're not doing any advertising. So that means that we somehow have to offset the cost of doing this for free. Hundreds of dollars a week.
Yep.
That we just give this thing away. We have to somehow offset asynchronously with product and service sales, coaching, and programs and courses that will subsidize this podcast, which is pretty tough to do.
Yeah. Well, and then, around that time period, things started changing, like I think we talked about it before, but it was like there was a time period in the early days where like online traffic, like, the fish were jumping in the boat. It was like barely had to do anything. You just released a piece of content. Like everybody was like really excited that there was like a piece of content to consume. And I think in the personality type space, we are very fortunate that we benefited from timing. We started a podcast in 2014. There was very few. There was like a couple podcasts, Myers-Briggs podcasts, but they, there was one that I remember that lasted like a couple years. And they were, they were very dedicated. And there was a couple other ones that just talked about like introversion or extroversion, and a couple others that talked about like more targeted, but we were the only personality. We were the only Myers-Briggs podcast that like lasted longer than a few years. And so because of that, we benefited from a lot of traffic, right? Like traffic was free and easy back then. And then we go to video, traffic is not as free and easy. It's a little bit more, algorithms start to come up, and now it's more targeted, and now it's more like you got to talk about single subjects. And what used to be this free, easy breezy, like, what do I want to talk about this week? Let's kick on the camera or not the camera, actually, let's kick on the mic, talk about what's going on, feel real good about it. Edit it in 20 minutes or less, get it uploaded, and we're done. And then
it felt like it had life. It felt like it was open and moving, right?
It felt iterative. It felt like more like us.
And we could explore. We didn't always talk about personality types.
Yeah.
Like we talked about generational theory. We talked about
spiral
business,
dynamics.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, we talked about archetypes of, goddesses. We talked about, like anything I was like, hey, I'm reading a book. We should talk about it.
It felt like the audience would go with us anywhere we went, because again, they weren't limited by what the algorithm gave them. It was more like your social network would feed things to you, or what you were subscribed to was actually served to you.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not always the case now.
No, in fact, it's the opposite.
I think I interrupted you. You were saying something about the free-form nature of it.
Yeah, how dare you interrupt me?
Well,
no, in a podcast of two people where
be the first time
I'm doing all the talking. How dare you do some talking? You're just there to look pretty. But thank you for giving me an opportunity to find my way back to the thing I was talking about, which was, video made it like really serious. And I think when that happened, it ended up having more burden on like teaching specific content. Then there was some challenge around like what content do we capitalize from our paid programs, because like our paid programs go way deeper. And then it was like, do we, do our, not just our audience, but do like our clients and customers feel like, oh, I paid for this and now it's free on the podcast. So there was a little bit of complication around that. And I think we just ended up getting really buttoned up. It kind of took some of the life out of it. It took a little bit of the joie de vivre. It was like, oh, this is really like, there was weight here. And it was like, okay, we have to really teach something, and it has to really be, it has to do the rain dance to the algorithm gods, and it has to, it has to be something where we have credibility, but it can't cannibalize from paid content, but it still has to be super deep. And it just became a challenge.
Yeah.
And I think the weight of it has made it so it's a little untenable for me. And so I've been doing a lot of thinking and meditating. Like we just recently went to Europe. We went to Copenhagen to speak at the BAPT conference, the British Association of Psychological Type. They invited us, very kindly and we were...
About 80 people from all over Europe came in.
Yeah.
It's their second live event since COVID. Mm-hmm. It's growing because I think last time they only had like 60 some people. So it's actually grown. They're trying to rebuild the community.
Yeah, 80 to 100, I think. It was really nice, actually.
It was really good. I was blown away, by the way, at that conference. Mm-hmm. That was actually a fantastic conference. I just want to say that. We met some really interesting people.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people using personality types professionally in like the workplace, teaching it. Mm-hmm. It was nice to be around other professionals that are using this professionally, mostly corporate and educational, but still.
Yeah.
It was nice to see. We got to give the keynote talk at the end of that conference.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Experiential.
We got to do like our little like sort of I don't know, woo-woo spiritual adjacent thing. We were like, let's do an active imagination exercise to integrate all of this. It was really cool. And the people who put it on were fabulous. Sue Blair over at BAPT and Meta, who donated the space or allowed us to use the space in Copenhagen, and all of the team and staff. And we met, like you said, we met some cool people. Rob and Carly Toomey from Type Coach. We met them and they were really cool. So yeah, it was great. But the point of all of that is, and then we, after that, went to Spain, to Valencia, Spain, to do our first international profiler training, which was also, it was a milestone, right? It's like, now we're officially international event runners, or at least that's how I'm thinking about it. So we had a lot of podcasts we had to record before we left. We had to pre-record, I would say, 2 months worth of podcasts, maybe even 2.5 months worth of podcasts. And when we got back, we had pre-recorded so many that it took us to episode 599. And that gave me about 3 weeks to a month after we returned of sitting and meditating on the podcast. And a piece of this is really meditating on what it taught me, what the podcast taught me, like what I've learned over the last 11 and a half years and 600 episodes. And I mean, beyond just like how to do a podcast. I mean, like, what did I really learn about myself? What have I learned about types since we started? Which is like, I almost don't recognize who I was when we first started. My relationship to type is so dramatically different. It's like hard to express. So I'm fortunate enough, I think we're fortunate enough, but I don't want to speak for you. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to have captured my evolution, like the evolution of my relationship to type all these years, which is really great. But this time period, this 3 or 4 weeks of really meditating around it, I think what I've realized is that because of that time period of it having to have all this weight, like the video podcast, I do feel like something got lost a little bit. And I think I've allowed it to have a little bit of a spiritual bypass. Like, I think what ended up happening is I could feel myself now in retrospect. I didn't know it at the time, but I can feel myself now hiding behind intellectual credibility. Like,
explain more. Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. What does the podcasters always say? Say more.
No, I mean like intellectual credibility. That's a loaded term. What does that mean to you?
Well, you know, like in the type verse, there's all this need to be the person who like has the real, like that. I really know what it is. I have the better system. I understand how this all works. I know how to define these functions. I know what this type looks like. It's like there's there's a fair amount of posturing, and I think this happens anytime you're in an industry that is insecure
or non-monetarily rewarded.
Right.
Because when there's a money to be made, that's the metric people use.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
And this isn't really a monetary industry yet in the way that we've approached it here. I mean, for us it is because we build a business around it.
Yeah.
But I think we're in a unique position that most people can't do what we're doing, or they haven't done what we're doing. Let's put it that way. Maybe they can, they just haven't decided to. Yeah.
Well, and it's understandable because if you're going to monetize it, you take your irrational passion, this thing you're in love with that comes from the heart, and then you start attaching dollar signs to it. And once you do that, it's really easy to have the wind sort of come out of your, like be driven out of your sails. It's easy to do it when it's passion. It's hard to do it when it's how you pay your rent. So
especially to stay true to something. Like, I mean, it's probably easier if it's not a topic that's like deep or profound or helpful to people. But if you're doing anything around coaching or helping somebody, in my opinion, that can get messy because you could start to be really fake around it because you need to make the money.
Correct.
And certainly there's been times we've been tempted toward that. I don't think we've gone there. I think we've kept it real, but maybe you're speaking that we haven't. This spiritual bypass you're talking about, maybe that's what you mean.
No, I feel good about how we've made our money. I mean, I do. I feel like we've done it through honest means. I feel like we do everything we can to serve people, meet them where they're at, and help them have transformation if at all possible. Like, that's our goal.
Yeah.
Most of the people who come to us on in a client way, not just in an audience way, there's thousands of audience members who have never, taken a program or anything. But I think the difference between audience members...
Just so you know numbers, I'm going to egoically brag for a minute. We're probably around 16 million listeners at this point, like, of all time.
Yeah.
Through the show.
That's nothing to sneeze at.
That's pretty good to
That's
have
nice.
a lot of... Yeah.
That puts a smile on my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not just talking about thousands, you're talking about millions of people.
Yeah.
That have listened to us through the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Audience. You were saying there's audience, but then there's our clients and our students.
Clients, right. And I think clients find us, they start out as an audience. Most people start through the podcast. And usually it's because they're in transition. And they're transitioning because whatever life they've built, and it doesn't have to be their entire lives, but excuse me, it can be like a part of their life, like their career, or maybe their religion, or maybe their political affiliation, or maybe their marriage, or maybe the whole thing is just not right. And they're I keep saying, like, they're at cut 999.
Yeah.
And they know if they get one more, they're going to bleed out. So they're looking for information on who they are, so that whatever life they build next, or whatever aspect of their life they build next, is not going to be a lateral move. Then they're not going to just recreate the same problems. And type is the sword and the stone around this. It has the power of being able to tell you what's going to budge and what isn't. What is just your wiring, and it doesn't matter how many times you try to fight against it, it's not going to happen. And so those things need to be honored in the next iteration. Versus what things aren't native to you, what things are adopted or learned or conditioned, or preferences, or maybe even bad habits, or whatever, and those things can change and be ameliorated, and probably should, right? So type teaches us that, and I feel like I feel complete, or not complete, excuse me. I feel aligned with how we've served our clients. Like, I think we do everything we can to pour into them to get them to a place where they can make transition, like they're crossing the river Styx, and we do our best to provide a sturdy boat on the trip. So I don't think it's money, but I think the spiritual bypass is to go back to the intellectual credibility.
Yeah.
Like you said, when you're not making money, and I had a job a long time ago, and an after school program that I worked with teachers, and we were talking like early aughts, right? All the millennials were little kids at the time.
Like 2001.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really early days. I mean, I guess it's only 25 years ago, but that feels like a long time.
How old are you, Antonia?
Too old, Joel. Too old. So
somebody right now is listening. It wasn't even born in 2001.
I know.
They're like, wait, what?
So cute. So I remember
that was not derogatory, by the way. You weren't trying to dismiss that person. So cute. Like, that wasn't about them. That was about...
Yes.
That was directed at yourself about your own age. Somebody might think, wait, what?
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Continue.
I was just a baby at the time. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to dismiss anybody. Although if you're under the age of 25, I mean, I have to admit, I'm of an age now where I think people are adorable. Is that okay? Is that dismissive? If you're 24 or younger, I'll probably think you're adorable.
If it is, it's fine.
Okay. So
you get to be that age.
Hey, it's the 600th episode. I can say whatever I want to.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. So, I worked at this after school program, and the teachers, it was a really good school.
Yeah.
And the teachers were great teachers, and they were not getting paid what they were worth, as is the case in most schools, right? Most schools, the teachers are not getting paid what they're worth. Man, it's even worse now. I mean, stuff that teachers have to put up with these days is outrageous. But at the time, they weren't getting paid what they were worth. And one of them was like teacher of the year for the state we lived in, for Oregon State. And It was like, I mean, it was a good school. But because they weren't getting paid what they were worth, there was a lot of posturing. There was a lot of like kind of ego around how good of a teacher you were. And I I remember thinking, oh, that's the shadow economy. That's what happens, right? Like when it's money isn't the currency or isn't a sufficient currency, shadow economies start to develop. And how prestigious of a teacher you were became their shadow economy.
Almost like that was a bypass. So this is the concept of bypass you're bringing up.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of. So I think the shadow, I think the shadow economy in the type verse is how much you know and how accurate you are with type theory, and how much you can fillet out all of these little insights around type and nuance. And so in order to gain any form of credibility, you to some extent have to sort of play the game. You have to be the person who can define a function in a way that the listener has never heard that before, or really lands with them, or has extremely high relatability. And you have to know all the theories, and you have to be able to argue why this theory is better than that theory, or vice versa. And yeah, it's just how you establish, I don't know, it's not market dominance, but it's how you, it's why people should listen to you and not say the other person who's on the side of your YouTube, suggestions, and go pop over to them. And I think what happens there is it allows, at least for me, it allows me to hide and not be as vulnerable, because I can be the know-it-all expert all day long. That's like default setting for me. And so I don't have to share my story. I don't have to say things that might not be acceptable to a wide range of listeners. I don't have to go to a place that's polarizing or could potentially turn people off. I mean, in the early days, I was always surprised by what somebody got offended at. We talked about cookies one time in an episode, and somebody really came on to, about how we shouldn't be referencing cookies, and limiting the amount of cookies you should be eating, because people should be able to eat as many cookies as they want. And I'm like, this is the thing you're offended by?
Didn't see that one coming.
I know, exactly. I'm like, okay, I guess. So
did you write back, that's how the cookie crumbles?
That's how the cookie crumbles. That's right. That wouldn't have been dismissive at all of their lived experience around cookies. So, anyway, and if that person's still listening, I hope we've evolved together. I hope you and I have evolved together since that moment. So, anyway, I got more and more careful because I hate offending people. Actually, that's not true. I have been trained rigorously throughout my life to be hyper vigilant against offending people. That's actually the truth.
Yeah.
I don't actually hate offending people. I'm fine with offending people for the most part. I just know, though, if they're offended, they're not going to listen to anything I have to say after that. And so I've gotten really good at being super diplomatic. But the problem is that it means sometimes I'm not saying anything, anything that's beyond type theory.
I think diplomacy is important, but I think a higher, as you're talking, this is coming from me real time. So as I say it out loud, I might disagree with myself as soon as I say it.
Yep.
You and I have been talking a lot about following our inner wisdom these days. So I'm really trying to tune into what that has to say to me in the moment. So I'm just trying to speak almost from the cuff and then vet it as I go. So this may or may not come out. And I stand by it.
Buyer beware. Don't write any of this down.
It's not even that severe, but I think a higher order of, what was the term you used? It was diplomacy. Judiciousness is actually what I think we're after. I'm going to posit that.
Yeah.
So diplomacy is how you go about it, but being judicious about what you decide to be polarizing around is something that we've been very careful about, very careful. And there's certain things I think we're going to continue to be careful. In my opinion, there'll be things that I will continue to be careful around. There is no reason why anyone needs to know my direct political opinions about anything.
Nope.
Because all it's going to do is get people to take sides, categorize, and stop listening to more core principles. And it's something that I'm trying to even get rid of in my life, associating with any kind of political ideologies or any kind of frameworks. I'm trying to take case by case and not have a monolith of anything in my life, right? So, but that would be let's say we got upset about something political happening. It doesn't matter what the topic is. And we were and this is important enough for us to speak about on the podcast. And now that one episode or that one time we make a polarized comment around something, even if it's a good, noble cause, it's like that was temporal for the moment. And I've always thought if somebody wants to listen to this 10 years from now, like it's not going to be relevant to them. And let's stick with the core principles. I listen to stuff from like the mid 2000s, like content, like podcasts or something, and people will like rail against the, Wall Street for the crash, or even the president at the time and how he's not doing right, and like, upset about whatever, this war that's happening that's been 20 years ago. And it feels so dated and it almost feels, it leaves a really bad taste in my mouth because it's like, it feels irrelevant now because the world's moved on. In fact, that same person might want some of those situations now from back then. Like it just felt so, I don't know, it was combative and it was divisive, and it doesn't stand the test of time because when I listen to it, it almost feels archaic.
Yeah. Ken Wilber might be one of the best minds of our generation.
He's who I'm thinking of. One of the people I'm thinking of.
And actually, his books are
particularly
not that easy to understand.
Yeah.
So it would be really nice to have a bunch of videos, like video content of him talking about them. That would make it easier to understand his concepts and theories for a broader audience. But half of them, he's going on about the Bush
president.
The Bush administration. I'm like,
and it's just, and not that I disagree with him, but it's like, it's so irrelevant now.
Yeah, it's not helpful
from those videos that it's like, and it also feels a little, snobbish and a little more, it felt egoic and snobbish the way he was going about it in that moment. Like it almost at the time you probably would feel different about it because it was a real relevant thing that was happening, but it almost feels dated and archaic now and just one note. Yeah. So I think that's the choice I've always wanted to make, is not be polarizing in those kinds of ways. But I do think that our inner wisdom needs to come forward more in the show. And I think that the world is moving fast enough and needs truths and things that maybe we've been too diplomatic about, to your point. That we haven't taken outside of those kind of external things like politics or religion or like world events, we've been very diplomatic even in the type space, right? To call things how we see it. We're like, well, let's not mess with anything. Let's not give any preference to one thing over the other. Whatever people are doing, live and let live. Let's just focus on what we're focusing on. Yeah. And I think maybe you've expressed that you wanted to make more comments about how you see it and how things could be looked at. Yeah. Right? Like I don't know.
I've no interest in going into there's like no hill I'll die on around all of this. And so I don't really want to go into battle with anybody about like the supremacy of any specific system over another. But I don't agree with people's interpretations about everything. And I would say particularly how people use Dr. John Beebe's 8-function model. Like I was very careful not to talk about the 8-function model until I felt like I had really, truly understood it from the inside out. And I've gotten comments how we were late to the game on the 8-function model and everybody else was talking about it and we only discovered it late. And it's like, dude, I've been reading Beebe's work for a very long time. Like I heard John Beebe for the first time in like 2009, 2010. Yeah. So I don't feel like I'm late to the game. I just wasn't going to speak on it until I understood it, like understood it on a nucleus level, which I wasn't really getting from his books. I don't think I was getting what he intended to communicate from his books. Now, maybe somebody else can. And I'm not suggesting that people can't do that. I just know that I wasn't getting the heartbeat of it until we started working with him. And now I get it. Now I understand. Now I feel confident enough to talk about it. But it also, I have to admit, I look around and it kind of distresses me how people talk about the 8-function model. Not because I worry how they're using it. Everybody's on their own journey. But I know that right now we are feeding LLMs, large language models, and AI. We're feeding it right now in almost like a flag theory way. And how we talk about type online and how content creators talk about it is going to be fused in with the information that gets spit back out. And most of the people who talk about the 8-function model, I don't think that they understand it at a nucleus level. I think they understand it at a very shallow theoretical level. I think you have to be familiar. You have to be more familiar with Carl Jung than John Beebe to get Beebe's model. John's model requires you to have gone a bit down a rabbit's hole of Jungian concepts. And so, And so there's like a part of me that's kind of like, there's a little part of me that wants to set a record straight, or at least provide helpful information around it so that there's a way to have it change your life. Because I think if you really understand BB's model, it like you understand it because it's changing your life.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I feel. I'd like as soon as I truly understood it, I went, "Oh, this changes lives." And so, and so there's a little part of me, and there's a part of me that's like a little hesitant to do that because I don't want to make it sound like I don't want to enter the shadow economy of intellectual credibility anymore. I understand that that's a bypass for me. That's a vulnerability bypass. So I want to get to the real, and so I know that I have to keep my finger on the pulse of not entering that fray too much in order to be egoically like it's about my interpretation. But at the same time, I also need to stop being so diplomatic and hiding behind it's fine. However you want to see it is good by me. It's like that's not totally true. That's not totally true. Like I don't think all interpretations of John's model are equal. So I think there's a little bit of that in there.
Yeah. I can see that. So the spiritual bypass then is being diplomatic?
Being a bit well, it's just not being vulnerable. Like I know that I have been vulnerable in the podcast in the past. There was a time period where I talked about my family a fair bit. There was a time that I talked about tough things I was going through, but I all of those were pre-video.
Yeah.
Right. The second we got on video, I stopped being vulnerable. And there's probably a couple different reasons for that. Like I'm a sexual 3. I'm ridiculously vain. And so as soon as like visuals entered the picture, I was like a little bit more hyper focused on visuals. Right. And I know that when a person just listens to a podcast by itself, there's an intimacy there because it's just your voice in their earbuds or their headphones for the most part.
And they're kind of committing to the show and they're going on a run or the car ride. They're in an experience where they're going through life and they're taking us along audibly with them.
Yeah, exactly.
YouTube's different. It's like you're scrolling through a feed and you're kind of maybe in your bed late at night or you're not going to like watch a video as you go for a walk or you're not going to, you engage in it differently.
Yeah, you're not going to like hang with it. You're not there with it. It's not nearly as intimate. And so being willing to be vulnerable on camera on a YouTube video is very different than being vulnerable in a podcast.
Well, because in audio, it's just your audience and maybe a few people that found you that week. But on YouTube, it could be anybody that sees that video. So you get a little more harsh comments. You get a little more, I wish the man in this video would shut up because he just talked like blah, blah, blah. Like, okay.
All right.
Noted.
Thanks.
That kind of stuff. I've talked about it before, but you know what I mean?
True.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Yeah. Drive-by comments of a bunch of people who are like hoping that entertainment will regulate their systems for them. So, it's like, yeah, it's just like a totally different bird. And so I have in my meditation of the last 3 or 4 weeks when I've really gone, okay, what do I want to say in the 600th episode? And after meditating and, doing some sort of, I don't know,
intuitive readings
and really getting into trying to find my inner wisdom and really trying to mine out what my intuition is attempting to communicate to me, whether or not I'm good at listening to it in the way it needs me to. Basically, like I came to the conclusion that it's like, oh, I need to be more vulnerable. I need to tell more stories. I need to be trusting of my own personal authority more. I need to model what it looks like to not feel like you have all the answers, because there's a couple content creators, not to go on about the typeverse, because this is more than just where we fit in that world. The podcast is a little bit more associated dharmically to our bigger purpose than it is just being authorities on type.
I almost see like personality type as the map to get to where we want to go. It's not the destination. It's the tool in the map.
Yeah.
This is the stop along the journey. But the journey's whole self, and the journey is a life that you can live from your best self.
Yeah.
The parts of you that are all you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just where we fit in the typeverse, but there's a couple other content creators out there who I think model what it looks like to be on a journey.
Yeah.
And to not have all the answers and to be sharing what they're learning as they go. And I like that style. I'm appreciative of those content creators and how they're doing things. And I feel like that's much closer to my authentic expression, right? Whatever that means. Whenever I think of the phrase authentic expression, I'm like, yeah. Anyway,
Are you gonna basically you're gonna be doing more interpretive dancing on YouTube?
Totally. Podcast.
Antonia's interpretive dancing.
If you're listening to this audio, you got to get to YouTube because it's all going to be interpretive dance from this point on.
No words, just pure movement.
Yeah, all of a sudden I've turned into an ESFP.
Wow, look how vulnerable she is.
As I have been accused of many times on the internet, I'm actually an ESFP and I'm actually going to interpretive dance.
I always thought it was ESFJ. I didn't know you were accused of being an ESFP.
Oh, you're right. Once or twice. ESFJ is a top contender. At this point, man, I can't even tell you how many people think I have extroverted thinking, which is ridiculously flattering, by the way.
I wish you had extroverted thinking.
I do too. Think of all the things I'd get done.
Oh, good Lord.
I know. I'm like, all right, so...
I can vouch for internet.
Yeah.
She doesn't have extroverted thinking, I promise.
Everybody thinks you're an ENFJ too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're probably all right.
They've never gone shopping with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, all you have to do is go shopping with Joel once and you're like, oh yeah, that dude's not extroverted feeling.
Dude, have I ever told a story about what I used to do to my mom in the mall when I was a teenager on the show? If not, it's been a long time if I have said it.
You should go where the spirit leads you.
So my mom has INFJ preferences. I'm 12. I didn't hit puberty till like 17. So I'm this like little short. I look like I'm 12 even when I'm like 15, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what age I was. Probably around 14 though. Mm-hmm. But I look really young. I look like a really little kid. And I've got a high-pitched voice. And I would mess with my mom on multiple occasions going into like a shopping plaza or a store. ENFP preferences, except for all the people on the internet think I'm an ENFJ, which this story might disabuse those people of this.
They'll figure out a way to they'll shoehorn it into ENFJ.
You don't understand. Your extroverted sensation was tertiary was whatever. I'm sure. Okay. So I go into like a shopping mall, and I was still short of because now I'm like I tower over my mom. It would never work now, but I was so little, but I was old enough to be able to mess like this.
In case you don't know, Joel is approximately
5'14".
Yeah, he's 6'2", so he's not a short man.
That's what some people said in Europe. They're like, "Wow, we didn't realize how differential you guys are because we always see you on the camera next to each other." And I was like a whole head taller
Joel's
than you.
6'2", and I'm 5'2", so we're like a whole foot in difference of size. Yeah, so
come to a live event and you'll see the difference.
Oh yeah, we should have kept that information just for live event people.
We have to put Antonia on like old phone books we found in the trash that nobody uses anymore, just to be able to buy my height. That actually literally happened for a couple of recordings.
Oh, you were talking about traumatizing your poor INFJ mother.
And I didn't know she's INFJ at the time. I'm 14. I didn't know type back then like I do now. I had no idea what I was doing to her. I thought this was fun and funny, and we're going to build intimacy through this. It's going to be a fun moment we share. I'm sure she's just like anyway, walk into a shopping mall, and I'm like up to her shoulder in height. So I would just walk in. We're just walking. I'm standing next to her. I would grab one of her arms. I would step in front of her, and I'd pull her arm up under my neck. Mm-hmm. And I would grab it, and I would push it as hard as I could. Not hard as I could. I wouldn't hurt her.
Yeah.
But I would push it up and hold it there, and then I would drop my weight a little bit. Not completely, but just put my weight on it. So it looked real, like she had her arm.
It looked like she had you in a headlock.
Headlock.
Yeah.
And I was doing it. And then I would start saying, "Mom, please, no, please, no." So immediately her instinct is to try to get me to release because she doesn't want to be doing this. Yeah. I'm making her do this. So she starts taking her hand
and smacking
you. Smacking my hands, right? To try to get me to let go of her arm so she can get out of this like she's not in the headlock, but it's a headlock.
Yeah.
She's caught in, but from the giving side, unbeknownst to her, or unwillingly.
So as you're yelling, "Mom, please stop," please no.
She's reflectively smacking me, and so all the heads are turning and watching us. Mm-hmm. And the more heads that turn and the more attention I get, I'm like, the more I want to keep going, right? But eventually she's like, "Joel Markwitz, let go now," or I don't know what. Like, okay, I don't want to get too much trouble. She'll let go, and then we move on, and she has to calm herself down. And
your methods have matured, but that part of you is still there. And so if you, I mean,
I don't
there
know.
There are some embarrassing moments with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try not to do them anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm doing them in good. I figure I can get away as long as I'm kind to people.
Yeah.
And I don't usually.
As long as my intention is good.
Yeah. As long as my intention's good. What does it matter? I mean, that's how I've gotten away. That's how
There's
I've not gotten away with it. That's how I've
rationalized.
Thank you to myself.
Like
But
there's mushroom clouds going off around you, but you're like, as long as I had good intention.
I've learned.
I know.
But kindness was always and because of that, I usually would throw myself under the bus.
Yeah.
But like, anyway.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I would do. So I don't know why people think I'm extroverted feeling
because
or harmony.
they don't live with you. That's why they think that. In the same way that people think I have extrovert thinking, I'm like, because you don't live with me. If you lived with me, you know better. But random internet stranger who has decided something from afar, yeah. Well, but that's that's basically a rite of passage if you're a content creator in this industry. Like if you're in the type industry, like the first thing, if you get any attention at all, if you get any traction or attention, the first thing everybody's doing is telling you you're not the type you think you are. And so it's like, it's kind of, I realized I was like, oh, this is just, this is hazing. This is, yeah.
I probably do this in other topics that I don't know. I have like some knowledge of that I think I know what I'm talking about, and I'll just spew things, and I'm like, well, that's the da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the person that's like the expert's like, what? This guy's an idiot. What? What is he talking about? He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
Enough type knowledge to be dangerous is how I think about it.
Yeah, but I'm sure you and I do this. Not like I don't run around the internet correcting people. That's worthless to me. But I probably do posit things when I don't know what I'm talking about in certain topics in my life. I'm certain I do. I
totally
have to do that. I'm sure.
Yeah. Although I do try to be careful about what I assert as true. But you and I are, I mean, we create all sorts of patterns that I'm like, I think we might be over patterning. I think we might think that we're pretty confident about our patterns. So we assert patterns that I'm like, I think we might be over patterning. I think we're more confident than we deserve to be on certain subjects.
I tend to be confident about the things that I knew once. Mm-hmm. I don't realize how old I've gotten. So like my children, like my son Gunner's trying to get a job. I'm like, oh, just walk in and apply. He's like, Dad, they don't have applications. You have to do everything online. I'm like, no, what? They don't have like, oh yeah, I guess I haven't had to get a job at like a place like that yet, a service job in a long time. Mm-hmm. I don't remember how it works. Yeah. And it's changed drastically. And when I tune into my children, my sons who are 17 and 19 at this time of this recording, it's a lot different working. I mean, the whole, like getting an apartment, getting a job, kids have it really tough.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, really tough. And it's not terrible. Easy. And I think us adults haven't updated, at least I haven't updated my systems around it, but it's updating quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think that our generation, Gen X, is going to update quickly. Mm-hmm. I don't know about the generations above us right now, if they're doing it, but I just know that I think us Gen Xers are finally realizing, we're old now, or older now. Mm-hmm. The world doesn't work like it did 30 years ago.
Right.
Economy doesn't work. Getting a housing and, places like this doesn't work the same. Mm-hmm. It's way more expensive and way more complex, and you need a lot more paperwork. Mm-hmm. And but I would spout things as if I knew how they worked the last 5 years based on how they used to work decades ago. Yeah,
things are less relational than they used to be. Everything's like 1 degree. Like it's
feels so cold.
Yeah, everything's routed through a digital interface. Yeah. So it's very cold compared to how it used to be. But I think, as Gen Xers, the world went from modernism to postmodernism when we were aware enough to watch it.
Yeah.
Like we were teenagers or 20-somethings when it was happening in front of us. And so I think we have the capacity to update quickly because we've had to update quickly. We had to learn how to update quickly. I don't think previous generations had to learn it as much. And I do think sometimes like baby boomers have a challenge in realizing that the world that they grew up in it's just never coming back.
Yeah.
Right. It's just not. And that would be harder to, I think, parse out if that sort of thing happened in your 40s and 50s. If it happens in your teens and 20s, you're still like updating quickly.
Yeah.
If it happens in your 40s and 50s, it's hard to go, oh, like that's moved on, right? And it's just not the same.
Well, I always find it funny when, I don't want to get too topical on anything here, but when baby boomers are shocked when the system fails them,
Yeah.
like certain government programs are like, what? They're going to cancel this government thing, or it's not going to be around. Or like us Gen Xers, like we never expected it to be. You guys actually thought this was going to you really believed that the system was going to be able to deliver on this thing. You didn't see all the flaws and how it was going to collapse. Mm-hmm. I think us Gen Xers are surprised at how boomers and older generations are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're surprised that they're surprised that the system was supposed to serve them and not collapse under the weight of itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the system is definitely not what it once was.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm surprised, like at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I kind of expected it, and maybe even sooner than this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not surprised. Yeah. I think,
I don't think Gen Xers are.
I think that we did not trust institutions or systems. And as much as baby boomers were like, never trust anybody over 30, I think boomers are a little more like they're surprised when you can't lean into authority figures. You know, when the authority figures are not trustworthy, I think it like kind of takes them aback. And I think Xers are like, yeah, that's authority figures. Yeah. So, but we also, you know, we grew up in a different time period. We grew up in the unraveling in generational theory, which you listening should be familiar with already. But if you're not, go get the Fourth Turnings here and read all about generational theory.
We also have a ton of episodes on it. 2 from a long time ago, the audio version. And then we did, I think, 4 or 5 with our friend Christian Rivera.
Yeah. I think if a person is familiar with generational theory and spiral dynamics together, I think it's a little easier to sort of watch what's happening around us and not feel like the sky is falling. Because
you can see the cycle of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can see that this is just a pattern.
Yeah.
And that every pattern comes to an end and a new pattern forms. Mm-hmm. And there's a case to be made in the Fourth Turning, and the Fourth Turning is here, that this is just the normal cycle of how societies function.
Yeah.
And there's always this kind of new beginning. There's a fruition of that. Then there's an unraveling. And then there's a total collapse of it or a conflict. And then it rebirths again. And we're kind of at the end point of the total conflict or collapse for it to rebirth.
Yeah.
So it actually is, I feel like there's a lot of hope in the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do too. I'm optimistic, but I also know that not every saculum is a good one. Right. And so I do think that there's some concern about making sure that the next springtime is a good one, right? What was the producer Springtime for Hitler? We don't want it to be Springtime for Hitler.
No.
So, but we do want it to. I mean, there is a renewal coming, and it could. I mean, I feel pretty optimistic. But
when you're saying Hitler, are you speaking about the person of Hitler? By the way, now we're not going to, this entire podcast is now just going to be suppressed because we use the word Hitler.
Because we use the H word. No, I'm referring to, remember the producers?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. You're talking about the, what is the guy's name? He's the silent film star. He did...
Charlie Chaplin?
Chaplin. Didn't, no, he did...
No. I'm talking
about... I know what you're talking about. That's the play.
Mel Brooks play.
Mel Brooks.
Who's
making a movie right now at 100 years old.
Which is crazy. Good for you, Mel Brooks. You
it was a Spaceballs 2 is what he chose as his final movie. Like, what in God's name, Mel?
I am 100 years old. My final going out magnum opus is going to be Spaceballs 2.
What? Why didn't you pick History of the World Part 3 or something? Like, why Spaceballs? Really? That's the one? And I think Rick Moranis is in it and everything.
What? Rick Moranis is going to be in it?
I think he's coming back. Oh. What is he, in his 70s probably?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I think that's what I heard. But
okay.
Yeah, he's Mel Brooks is 100. He's going to be in the movie too. He's writing, directing, and starring in it.
You get it.
And
you get it, boy.
I hope I'm making art at 100. That's fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. And to be fair, Spaceballs was a fabulous movie.
Yes. So Springtime for Hitler was their stage play. I'm thinking about the Charlie Chaplin. Okay, what was the other one? Was the Great Dictator, or the silent one where he's kicking a beach ball in the air? Yeah.
So the producers, the premise of the play, it was originally a theater play, and then they actually made a movie. I think it had Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane or something.
Yeah.
But the premise is that there's these 2 con artists, basically, or shysters, who decide that they're going to, because they found out that if you have a play that flops, you get a bunch of, I think it was insurance money. Like they'll cover, you insure your play, you put it on. If it flops, you get a bunch of insurance money. And they were going to, scam the insurance company by putting on a play that flops. And I think it was insurance company.
It sounds like the most ENFP way to do insurance fraud ever.
Yeah. Yes.
It sounds like how would the most ENFP way to do insurance fraud? It's I know what we're gonna do.
I know what we're gonna do.
We're gonna do a Broadway play, the most complex way to cheat insurance.
That's right. Exactly. What? With a little performance in there, right? And
what in God's name?
And so they choose this script called Springtime for Hitler. And so it's this
guaranteed flop.
Guaranteed flop, because it's it's horrifically
I gotta watch this now.
anti-Semitic, and it's like off, and it's like glorifying Hitler, and it's like this terror, and this was like in the 60s or 70s. I mean, 60s, like this is like 15 years after World War II, and so or like maybe 20 years after World War II. So it's pretty raw for everybody, right? It's still like a thing. And so they put this play on, just assuming it's going to be this terrible, terrible flop. But it ends up being hilarious. It ends up being super funny, and everybody takes it as farce, and so it's wildly successful. And that's the premise of the play.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, so we don't want, but that's why I said we don't want it to be springtime for Hitler. I mean, in the next Saculum, we don't want it. That's why I made that reference. I know that's a very any connection, and nobody, by the way, nobody's going to know what I was referencing. There's like one person is going to comment like, I totally knew what you were talking about.
Maybe.
Yeah, but most people won't know that one. So it was probably good that I flayed it out. But
yeah, I was thinking about the Charlie Chaplin movie.
Yeah.
Which I can't remember what that
I think
one
it's
was called.
The Dictator or the Great Dictator or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember. So anyway, so the next Saculum, we don't want it to be a bad one, and we don't want tracks to be laid of not a great next 80 to 100 years. But I don't think it's going to be. Actually, to be fair, as much as, you've got that crowd that says like everything is socialized. Here, I'm going to say something controversial right now.
Let's go. Let's do it.
So controversial. This whole like the crowd that's like everything is socialized, which feels like it feels like extroverted feeling, wanting everything to be on their terms.
So just to give a little more clarity what you're saying, there's this concept that reality is socially constructed.
Correct.
Meaning the reality we experience is based on the relationship we have to each other and like the world around us.
Yeah.
And we're socialized into a viewpoint and a way of being.
Correct.
And we come out of the womb pristine little minds, no pre-wiring. I mean, this is the extremist view of it.
That's the extreme view.
And based on our culture, we become who we are.
That's right.
And based on our culture, we can change who we are.
Yeah.
And it's like all cultural and all socially designed, socially engineered.
Yes.
And that is the sum total of our reality that we experience. In fact, I have a book on our shelf called The Social Construction of Reality I read in college.
Yeah.
And this is the viewpoint they take.
Yes. And it feels like if it feels like a single function or maybe two functions trying to bring everything on their turf. Right? It feels very extroverted feeling. And not to demonize anybody who has, there's plenty of people who are FJ types out there that do not believe this, but it kind of feels like an overreach of a specific function. And because my introverted thinking is like, that's not true. Like there's a bunch of other things that come in.
Yeah.
But that said, or at least that's what makes sense to my introverted thinking, my systems thinking. But all of that said, there was a point I was making, but I just wandered off into asserting a perspective.
Well, I would just say that this is the premise of the show, The Good Place. The premise of the show, they even say that, I think, in the final season, like correct behavior first, people's hearts and minds will follow later.
Yeah.
So it's like you socially engineer and construct the world and how everybody should behave.
Oh.
And then eventually their desire for that behavior will match the behavior, but you fix the behavior externally first. And the outlier is either ashamed or ostracized. And this isn't what this Good Place says, but this is I'm taking what they said. It's an example of it.
Correct.
You kind of shame or ostracize people that aren't performing well. And when they perform well, they're allowed back in. And eventually, if we keep performing well, hearts and minds will update writ large, and we're going to have a better society.
Right.
I mean, I think that's maybe I'm not getting the details right, but that's kind of the viewpoint.
Yeah. And I don't think that is fundamentally untrue. I just think that it's wildly incomplete. I think there are a lot of other nodes in the system that go into it that make it so that to only hyper focus on a single node means there's a bunch of elements of reality that you're missing that will end up backfiring if you pretend that they don't exist.
Okay.
Right.
So what was your tagging?
I'm tagging.
Controversial statement.
No, that was my controversial statement. My non-controversial statement is that I think in the next Saculum, I don't actually think that society is going to have that much of a say. I think the next Saculum is going to be way, 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 way more designed by, for, and centered around this thing that we've given birth to of AI and robotics. And I mean, I think technology, as much as technology was a massive part of the last Saculum, there's not a comparison, I don't think. I think this next one is going to be it almost might be and I don't say this because I want it to be this way, because I actually see a lot of problems, but it might be a saculum that is more influenced by introverted thinking than any other function. The last one was very extroverted thinking. The saculum we're leaving right now was an extroverted thinking saculum through and through.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're moving into potentially an introverted thinking saculum. And I see a lot of problems with it. Like, I don't want it to be that way, but
really, I would
yeah.
think this would serve you well, being an introverted thinking accuracy user.
Yeah, it does serve me well, but also I know all the problems that come along with being an introverted thinking user. And so if we have a saculum that's has that function overreaching, then it's going to be a problem. And that might be why we need a lot of this introverted feeling influence, because introverted thinking without, extroverted feeling, introverted thinking without extroverted feeling is a major problem. Like, you got to have both sides
Pretty
of
harsh.
that. Yeah, it's not good. So anyway, I see the next saculum as being more marked by that function.
I read yesterday that it's pretty certain that AI agents are going to be able to buy and hold their own cryptocurrencies and be able to self-fund themselves for thousands of years once they do.
Wow.
Like, they'll basically be able to, like,
that makes sense.
have their own bank accounts, and I'm sure they're going to be able to, have physical robotics too. But that's just, like, I keep thinking how all these things are converging, like cryptocurrencies at the same time of robotics, at the same time of AI. Like, all three of these are kind of converging at the same time period of history.
Man, we do not
It's going to
know.
be not a powder keg, but it's going to be like this combustion of something. It's going to be really fun.
That phrase,
until it's not.
Yeah. Until we all
Did
die.
your ChatGPT ask you if you're John Connor yet?
Yeah.
Are you John Connor?
John Connor. I wanted to say, I remember tagging something about generational theory too, but
we're all over the place. Keep going.
hey, this is a 600 episode. I get to do whatever I want to. I keep saying that to, like, sort of self-validate, but I honestly, on some level, kind of feel that way. In generational theory, he says at the beginning of the book that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And so, to speak to what we were saying before, which is that if you understand generational theory and spiral dynamics, you start to see the patterns of the rhyming, but it's not repeating itself necessarily. Like, the next saculum is going to be very different. And the problems we're going to face in the next 20 years are going to make whatever problems we think we're facing as humans right now, we might not even remember what they were.
We may not care.
Like, we're just not going to care.
It's like the problems are going to be too big to care about what we're worrying about now.
Correct. Like, and they say, the phrase, you never solve problems, you just trade them.
Yeah.
We're going to be trading a lot of problems. Now, we're going to solve a lot of things too. That's implicit in the concept of trade, right? A lot of problems are going to be solved, but man alive, and we can't even predict the problems we're about to create. And those kinds of thoughts, right? It's like, oh, what problems does that create?
Well, problem solving at the speed of thought. I'm watching videos right now of people that are quadriplegics writing with their thoughts with Neuralink.
Amazing.
Or, like, these things implanted in their brains.
Yeah.
And I'm just, like, blown away watching this happen in real time. They're thinking about what to write, and it's happening on the screen.
Can
Can you imagine? Like, that's just like science fiction to me, but it's real. It's happening
real.
right
It's
now.
happening. Yep.
The only limitation is, like, regulation, that more people don't have this ability because it's just regulated by the government. But as soon as the regulations remove, it's on.
Yep.
That's the only restriction to technology right now is regulation, for good or bad.
Yeah.
It might be helpful to regulate and be careful.
Yeah. And
That's pretty cool.
Amazing. And a part of me wants to, like, dive into that world head first. Another part of me wants to, like, go build a cabin out of my own bare hands in the woods. Because it's just like, I have been spending some time grieving the world I grew up in. I'm like, oh, that's done. That's complete. That is not coming back. And but it's also kind of exciting to see what's coming next. Anyway, back to the podcast. Back to talking about how the podcast needs to change. So you and I have actually had a lot of back and forths about this. I did a tarot reading to try to get some insight into our relationship to the podcast and, like, what, like, just see if I could figure anything out. By the way, ChatGPT does an amazingly unbelievable tarot reading. I mean, I think I know how it's working. I've, like, started to spot all the patterns, but it doesn't change the fact that its insights are amazing. Like,
You're having a real deck of cards.
Real deck of cards.
You pull the card.
Correct.
You set it up with chat till it's a situation. You pull a card and it gives you feedback on the card based on the situation you're doing a reading around. Mm-hmm. Do you see tarot as a spiritual thing, as an intuitive? Like, how do you see tarot? Is like God giving you messages through it, or is like some spiritual entity, or is it just more your own intuition? Well,
I'm still pretty agnostic, and so I don't really have an opinion on what's happening there. I just know that it helps me. Well, I'll say this: it helps me existentially regulate. Yeah. Like, when I do it, it makes me feel like I'm tuning into particularly introverted intuition. But it helps me feel like I can pull my intuition out and get messages from my own brain, and then also some messages from chat, like because it knows me at this point, and so. It gives me some insight. But so I pulled a tarot card about my relationship to the podcast, and I pulled a tarot card about your relationship to the podcast. And mine was the Three of Wands, which is a card about like looking off into the horizon and waiting for the ship to come in. Right? Like this whole like visioning and like looking off into the distance. And
Wands are intuition. Right.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Creativity, intuition.
Ideas, intuition.
Exactly. And then for you, I pulled the 10 of Cups, which is like this picture of like a rainbow and happy couples sitting under or standing under it, and like children playing in the background. And so it was basically like your relationship to the podcast is that this is like stability and legacy and happiness and rainbows. And mine was like looking off in the distance, waiting for the ship to come in. So I feel like that was pretty spot on. Like that's our relationship to the podcast. I think I wouldn't make much modification there. And so when I've talked about, that it needs to change, there's like a lot of resistance from that 10 of Cups energy. Like, no, you're going to disrupt the happy family and the legacy. And I'm like, yes, but the ship hasn't come in, Joel. It's like, I'm looking on the horizon. I've got to see something new. So you and I have gone back and forth. And so I've had to get really like clear about what I think is the challenge. And I think the challenge is that I like I said before, I think it's lacking vulnerability, but I also think and I think it's not just lacking vulnerability from me, by the way.
You think me too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I do it through intellectualism. And I think you do it through performance.
I think I can see what you're saying. There's like in a normal conversation, I wouldn't stop and be like, I wouldn't give context to something that you said maybe around like, okay, like the tarot thing I asked
or the Hitler thing.
Well, yeah. And I asked the tarot thing because I already know the answer, but somebody watching or listening right now may not. So I feel like I have to be in like like it's not performance, it's more like host energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've always got my mind on you listening. Like I have my mind on you too, Antonia, but I'm always thinking about the person right now that's listening or watching us. It's not a group of people. I think about one person that's right now in the experience on their phone watching us or laptop watching us, or maybe their TV in their living room. I doubt that, but possibly. Right. Yeah. Or certainly listening to us on a walk or something. And I'm always thinking, what is going to be confusing about what we're saying, or what's going to be unclear or in speak, or an assumption or insider knowledge that we have that this person's not privy to, that we assume because we're so in it. So I'm always trying to think, what could I clarify or help for that? And it annoys people that do know what's going on because I sometimes will do that. And then I also think there is a little bit of a performance nature to content with a world that moves so fast and is so, your attention is precious.
Yeah.
That you have to kind of also give a little nod to the dopamine. Yeah. And a little bit of nod to like when we have a profiling session at our live events, some people are more entertaining to watch you profile than others, right? We'll do a profiler training and we'll bring a real person in on the main stage. You and the person will be sitting there. And I have to think in terms of, like when we pick that person, we think in terms of the entertainment quality, not just the educational quality. Because to sit there and watch something, both in the audience and on video later, for like an hour and a half, it has to actually have some life to it. And so I think that I see my job as a host and as a little bit of a performative nature. I would say I don't think it's inauthentic to be performative. I feel authentic in performance. It's kind of like the idea of a persona mask amplifying more of who you are. I feel like it's just amplifying. Like I don't say stuff I don't believe. Yeah. I may not say things I do believe. Like I may not say something that I think is true just because I don't want to create division or polarization.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm being, I mean, tell me how I'm being, I mean, I don't mind you saying it, even live on air. How could I be more authentic?
But I didn't say inauthentic.
Or what did you say? Vulnerable?
Vulnerable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you're inauthentic, but I do think that you
That's interesting. I interpreted that.
Yeah. You're not as vulnerable as you can
I
be.
immediately took it over authenticity. That's like, I immediately mapped that you were saying vulnerability onto being authentic. How would you define vulnerability in this context? Saying things that are polarizing? Like, is that more like when I don't say something that I could to be more diplomatic? Is that like when I'm diplomatic? Is that what you mean by vulnerable? Because being diplomatic is not being vulnerable, I guess. I could see that.
Well, I don't know that they necessarily preclude each other either. How do I think? Well, okay. Not that you have to or you need to. But there was a time period there where I would like kind of hint at your story and I'd be like, and whenever Joel's ready to tell his story, it's like 11 and a half years in, you've never told your story. Right?
Which story is that?
Your
story, Joel.
What
does that even mean? I got lots of stories.
Well, I mean, I don't think I have to do too much wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Are you talking about like a really difficult marriage ending and that whole situation? That specific story or?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to let any cats out of bags that aren't my cats or my bags, but there's a lot of things that you've experienced that I think would be very relatable to people. Like, okay. I mean, I think I
can hear that.
Things that would be relatable that you don't have to necessarily like air all your dirty laundry or anything, but there's and I'm not even saying that you got to be more vulnerable, Joel. Like, I mean, it's not really my business to tell you what you need to say and not say.
I think I want this to be helpful to people and I want it to work and I want it to have the sustainable life to it.
I'll just say that I don't think either of us have been particularly forthcoming with stories and anecdotes and things about our life. I mean, we hint a little bit here and there, but I think we could be both. And I don't even mean in terms of relatability necessarily, although I think actually you're a more relatable person than I am by leaps and bounds. I think people relate to how I think, but I don't think that they necessarily relate to who I am. But I don't really reveal who I am very much, right? Probably in part because I don't really think about who I am very much. Like, so maybe they do. I don't know. I'm not even thinking about it. But I think, I don't know. I'm not even saying this as I'm not slapping our hands. Sure. I'm not going like, we should have told more stories about ourselves. We should be more vulnerable. I'm saying that there is an awareness that is coming up inside of me around the podcast that we have and we source it back to the video podcast, which I think probably is a big piece of it.
Sure.
But I think you and I have to some extent gone a little bit into hiding.
Okay.
And I
can hear this.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that that's like shocking or surprising or anything, but I think I don't know if I can let the podcast is too difficult to do every week. It's too quote unquote expensive. And I don't mean like financially expensive. I mean like energetically expensive.
Yeah.
And it's a part of our soul. And so if it gets soulless, then why are we doing it? Like, is it just as a lost lead for our programs, just so people will, find out who we are and like go, I like the cut of their jib, I'm going to go buy a program. It's like, there are, like you said, we have millions of downloads. There are tons of people who have never and will never, sign up for anything. So are we only doing it as a lost lead, or do we want to make sure that those people also like we served them too, right?
No, I think it's definitely legacy.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why we've kept it evergreen. I never wanted it to be timely, because then it only was relevant for that time. I want the episodes 30, 50 years from now to be able to be heard by a machine or a human and be
you Bitcoin millionaire machine of the future.
be useful. I mean, dude, when these algorithms figure out how to make money faster than we can, they'll just like own it all. So I don't want to. It makes me remember something I've actually realized recently in what we do at Personality Hacker in totality. Mm-hmm. The podcast is the only sustainable thing that we attempt. I mean, any attempt that we've made at creating a program or a membership or anything like this is really difficult for us. We're ENPs. You're an ENTP. I'm an ENFP. We don't do sustainability.
I was going to say,
like,
how
that's
could people,
not us. That's just not
people
us.
not know we're ENPs?
Right?
We are constantly trying new things. We're like, we're going to go do this show over here. And then it like lasts for like 6 months. We're like, okay, we're done with that. And it's like, oh, we're going to go run this program. You know, this, well, I guess people aren't really paying attention to our, to our work outside of the podcast.
Possibly not. Yeah.
And the podcast feels so, it's like,
consistent.
anchoring or whatever. But it's like, if you see anything outside of it, we're just constantly testing things.
And I think that's what I've come to appreciate about the podcast. It's the one thing, and it's the first and only thing that I've been able to do this sustainably for 11 and a half years and 600 episodes, 600 weeks. It's been 600 weeks straight, basically, is what we're talking about.
By the way,
congrats to you.
Yeah, congrats to you. Here, let's do another little.
It's
like,
empty.
cup
I don't have all my tea left, but we'll just clink them anyway. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
So like that's just, to me, I'm like, that's profound, but it's also a little bit of aspiration from my
For sure.
memory, introverted sensing, 3-year-old or inferior mental process in my ENFP personality.
Yeah.
That, that aspiration of being able, I remember reading Ansel Adams when I was like 14, and he's like his 25-year anniversary portfolio. I'm like, oh, when I'm a photographer for 25 years, I'll have a portfolio like that to look back. And so far the podcast is the only thing I've been able to do personally, as long as we've done it, maybe you too, that sustainably for 11 and a half years, 600 weeks in a row, basically, that I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And it's almost like I don't want it to end because that I'm addicted to the sustainability of it. And it's the only thing we've got sustainable here.
Yeah.
And actually I've also learned, and this is the next place I'm going is, I kept thinking that what we like, if you're looking at metaphors, I'm like, at Personality Hacker, we're building a company that's like a farming company. We're going to keep farming courses and materials and people, and we'll put people through a pipeline and keep developing leads and make sales and sell products. And I don't think it's really a farming operation like that. Like it's not a business that is like a restaurant's a farming operation, right? You're going to have customers 365 days a year, as long as you're open. People have to eat every day. So you could just the clientele will keep going in. You can change the menu seasonally or every once in a while, but you can keep a consistency for a long time because you're meeting a base need. What we do, by definition, often meets people when they're in transition, to your point from earlier. When people are in transition, they don't need something sustainable. They need something that is epic and not sustainable by definition. It's like it's like a heightened experience. So I feel like I actually have disabused myself of any kind of like consistency in anything else that we produce, although I would love that to be there, kind of a residual element of something. I'm like, that's probably never going to be the case. And I don't think it should be. Like Personality Life Path Mentorship, I tell our people at that 3-day event at the end of so we do 8 weeks online, and then we do a 3-day event online in person. And I tell people there, I'm like, this is not sustainable on purpose. We couldn't do this level of work more than maybe 8 weeks, 9 weeks together. Yeah. Like it's just too much. You can't go to summer camp year round, right? It's like a heightened experience you do in the summer as a kid. You can't go to the football game every single night. You're going to go the night you go to the football game, right? And have a big heightened experience in the stadium. And so I think what we do is more that, because it's transitional and it's a short run, and people come to us when they need us to make that transition, that big transformation often even. Yeah. And we're more transportational than we are anything else. We're helping people move from like one side of the river to the other and get to their new life that they want to make, whatever that means and whatever stage of life they're at. Yeah. So I think the podcast has been this ballast underneath it all that kept, it's like a metronome that just keeps going every week. Yeah. So that's probably why I have a lot of fondness for it. Have you ever done anything that consistent for 600 weeks in a row? Ever? Did you ever like miss a week of church or? Yeah, I didn't even go to church every week. Yeah. 600 weeks in a row. Like nothing I've ever done since the time I was born until now has been this consistent. You're ever.
Like, and if we stop recording the podcast, our entire lives will unravel.
I don't think that. I'm just, first of all, I'm just proud we were able to do it. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
I can hear this idea of vulnerability. Yeah. Well, I can understand what you're saying there. And I would like to be more that way. I'm trying to listen to what you're saying right now and practice it immediately by getting vulnerable right in this moment to say, okay, what else can I hear? Yeah. What else do I need to hear?
Well, I do want to mean,
Or
I don't want to knock your hand away when you're like, I'm vulnerable right now. Tell me how I can be more.
I'm on
like,
my knees. I'm submitting to the vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Brene Brown just sent me a message. She's proud of me. It's like, good job, Joel. Like, yeah, Brene Brown's on my side too now.
I wonder if there's anybody that has been there since the first podcast that's made it all the way to now.
I'm sure.
Really? You think so?
Absolutely.
There was, how many people did we have on the first podcast? We had 300 people listen to the very first podcast in like that first week, I think.
Really?
You think there's somebody out of that 300? Like maybe so. 350 or something.
I think so.
I would love to know that. I would love to know if somebody's followed us the entire time and is like here at 600 clinking a glass.
You know, the other thing that's weird is both, like probably neither, no one on either side of both of our families have ever listened to our show.
Oh, no.
Not once.
Oh, no. No.
We've done 600 weeks of something.
Yep.
And no one that's like close to us has ever like listened to it.
Nope.
Probably. Not even one time.
Nope.
Maybe they've started an episode and gotten a little bit into it and then like abandoned, but I bet you that no one's even heard a full show that's in our lives.
Nope.
A prophet is without honor.
A prophet is without honor in their hometown. That's right. Yep. Yeah, I know.
The statement from Jesus.
My family has absolutely no idea what I do, and nor do they even care to figure it out.
Yeah. They don't care.
They do not care.
They love us anyway.
Well, I mean, yours loves you. I don't know about mine loving me. Probably do underneath everything.
Deep down in there.
Deep down inside, I'm sure they do.
I think I interrupted you. Going to say something. What was it?
No, I was just going to say, I wonder if anybody's followed us the entire time.
Leave a comment if you have. Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to know that.
Well, there were people on the 500th that came on and said, I've been there since the beginning. So that's why I assume they're still here from the 600.
I don't know if it was from the very beginning. Was it from the very first episode? I think it was like from the first year. Oh. But I don't know if anybody was from the first episode. I don't think we have anybody.
That'd be pretty tough to, at a 350. I mean, that's a very low number.
Yeah, it's a
very special person.
Unlikely. It's very unlikely. Yeah. But that said, I do think people like travel with us for longer than just a transition. I mean, there are people who listen to our podcast that aren't in and never have been in transition.
Yeah, with the podcast, that's kind of also why it's sustainable for them too. It's the one place where I wouldn't call it necessarily client, but audience is. It's like people can consistently stay with us for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So basically to sort of go back to the point of origin, there are many lessons learned in having done this for so long. And I don't know if they're like lessons. He's like, like what have I learned by recording 11 and a half years of podcasts? I'm sure that there's like a list. I could make a listicle.
You pull out your top 10 list.
My top 10 list of all the things I've learned. But I would say that most of the things that I've learned are deeply personal. I've watched myself grow over time and have I have audio recording of it, which is really kind of interesting. But I feel like that growth went on a pause a couple years ago. I feel like I didn't grow. I feel like I've learned more. I've learned a ton, but I don't know if I've grown in the podcast. And so to some extent, this feels like, and I know you're going to push back, your 10 of Cups is going to be like, no. But I feel complete. Now, I don't feel complete like I'm never going to record a podcast again. And I know you're like, our audience don't help them feel complete. Like, this is not complete. Don't feel complete. Keep listening. And I think that too. But there's something in me, something very, very, very deep inside of me that goes, maybe it's just personal. Maybe it has nothing to do with the podcast. Maybe it's just entirely inside of me. But there's like a part of me that's like, I feel like something did what it wanted to do. Something feels like it's closing. Some way of being around this feels like it's done what it was like. It did what it set out to do, and then it got a little static for me. And now that I'm feeling the energy of like almost closure on an old way of being, I feel like I have a rebirth of a new way of being.
Yeah.
And I'm very curious to see how that's going to emerge in the future. Like, I guess maybe on some level, I don't feel like I have anything left to prove. I don't feel like I have to prove anything. I don't feel like I have to prove my like my positioning in an industry. I don't feel like I have to prove my knowledge. I don't feel like I have to prove why I should be listened to. But I still feel a calling to serve. And I still feel like I'm positioned to be able to help people in a more centered way. I do think that if I start showing up this way, the way that I'm talking about, that I'm not 100% sure what that looks like. I guess I get to find out as I go. I do think that I'll lose some people. Like there are some people who are like here for like all of the technical, and I don't know if I have to talk about that in such a organized fashion because I kind of feel like I'm in a space of sort of embodying it. Like I'd rather talk about it emergently. I'd rather talk about it in an embodied way. I'd rather talk about like, I don't want to talk about the definitions of functions and types and all of that stuff. I want to talk about how it's changed my life. I want to talk about how I think it can change lives. And I think that requires more of a narrative tone. So I've never really done narrative tone. So I feel like this is like a new territory for me. Like I don't tell stories. I don't tell my stories very often. I do sometimes when I feel like I have to, just to vomit it out of me. But I have this sort of premise that like, why would anybody find my stories interesting? Why would anybody care about that? And I still am not totally convinced that my stories are interesting or like my life story is interesting. But I do know that it's hard for people, like people can learn data and information without story and narrative. They can learn technical things. But I think that knowledge and wisdom is transferred through a personal experience.
Yeah.
And so I don't really want, I guess that's what it comes down to. Like the model I talk about many, or have talked about many times, DIKW, we've done entire podcasts on it, data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. I feel like I'm just kind of like, I'll still I'll still talk about data and information, right? It's interesting still, right? But I don't feel like that's my calling as much anymore. I feel like knowledge and wisdom is where I feel like I have to graduate into.
Yeah.
And that means I'm going to have to follow a more narrative tone.
Yeah. So. Well, we talked about another model, and I wanted to ask you about the one you just brought up, DIKW, with the one that we've spoken about before. I see us creating content for personality types in kind of three broad categories, or serving three kind of ways of engaging with it. I call it relate, educate, translate. Yeah. We've talked about this before. Yeah. A lot of content online around type, especially early on when someone is creating that content, has a lot of relate content, right? It's it's like,
do you do this as an ESFP?
So do I. And it's like relate. And then I think people get into the educate, which I think is what you're talking about. Definitions, data, information. And I think that's where the type space is really online. Digitally, that's the place where all this can go. There's relate and there's educate. Relate are like the skit videos and the little TikTok dancing, like ESFP, and like two people interacting with little labels around above their heads floating around, and they're like having some interaction. It's like relatable type content. Even up to like relatable articles or something like that. What, can you relate to having this challenge at work with this kind of a coworker? Yeah, I can relate to that.
Well, and there's deeper relate too. There's like
a relationship.
It's relate. Like, have you as an INFJ, do narcissists fear you as an INFJ?
Yeah, or whatever.
Or whatever.
Narcissists actually fear you. That's why they attack you as an INFJ or whatever however that works.
Because of the psionic energy blowing around your head.
Narcissist. I got him on me. Get him off. Like particles.
That's right.
You just pick up an INFJ out of the water, and the whole bottom of them was covered with narcissists. Like, holy crap! I got to skip these things off this.
Right. That's the other relatable thing, which is like you attract them, but also they fear you.
Yes. What was I saying? Oh, but I don't think there's been a lot of people in the translate, and it's not. There's no criticism to that. It's just translate's kind of what you're talking about. I think it's this idea of like transmitting and translating how personality types, how Jungian theory, how archetypes, how they've impacted your life and how they've shown up in certain ways. right? Like the deep uncertainties you have in this situation with me in this one context, and you tell a story about that. It's like, it doesn't really fit in the educate bucket. You can't teach something. It's like, you couldn't say, here's 3 bullet points of how not to fight with your husband when you're in this exact context in this exact moment. It's just not as clear as that. And it could be relatable. Like, you ever find yourself in altercation with your partner or whatever, but we're trying to translate, okay, here's how you could take some of the models and methods that maybe you learned and like apply them to a real world scenario, or apply them to how to think differently about it, or to change your relation to maybe an archetypical energy within yourself. It's like very subjective and nuanced and personal, and kind of down in the parts of yourself that aren't really, you can't really teach it necessarily. I think that's what you're speaking to. That knowledge and wisdom lives in the translate part of those 3 buckets, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And I think we try to do a lot of translate work in our programs, like the behind the paywall programs. But I think it is also entering more of a translate frame than an educate frame. But I also think it's also a relate frame. Yeah. It's a relate frame in a...
We've been heavy on the educate.
We've just been so heavy on, and that makes sense, right? That's where I go, right? I'm like, oh, I just discovered a cool thing that I think is interesting. Everybody should know this, and so I'm gonna teach it. But I think we need to be more relatable. And I mean, I know that we kind of picked fun at the whole, INFJ narcissist thing, but there's a reason why it works, right? It's like, INFJ's like, yes, I have run into narcissists in my life. Yes, I have had to deal with them. Yes, it's nice to be able to have somebody validate that. Like, there's something to be said for having your experiences validated. And sometimes hearing a person's story, even if it's not exactly your story, you can find things inside of it that really resonate. And then if the person has figured out how to get to the other side, now hope is born. It's like, oh, you can get to the other side. It's not all hope is lost.
In a way, Myers-Briggs, the system, the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and the way that Myers and Briggs set all of this up, it was a way to take Carl Jung's 8 cognitive functions and tokenize them, almost like trading cards, and allow them to be modularized, if I can say that word, and tokenized. And it's a really modernist 20th century framework. And it was used in the corporate world and education, and it works really well for that. In a very 20th century extroverted thinking world, I think that tokenized framework works. But I think Jung was tapped into something pre-modern. I think he was tapped into really deep archetypes and energies running.
Primordial.
And in a way, I think that what we're going to need next in a postmodern world is to go back to more pre-modern concepts, precepts, maybe some of the ideas and energies. It's a much more subjective and internalized, like Jung was all about play and personal expression and allowing ideas to come from within the self. And while the Myers-Briggs system is a great external tool that's tokenized that we can use to sort people, to help with career, even relationship, it kind of is an on-ramp really to Jung for me, and that's how I see it. Yeah. And so I think that's what you're talking about, is being more Jungian about it as we go forward, which means more subjectivity, more internal processes, and more inner wisdoms coming out to try to spark it in the other, because it's not all just objective things or tokenized things out here. Like, the human experience is way more than that. And in fact, one could argue that in a postmodern world going forward, it's going to be very difficult to rely on, quote, objective things outside of yourself, because AI will be able to create any image or video. We won't be able to believe our eyes. We won't be able to believe our ears. We won't be able to believe these things. So we're going to have to believe ourselves more, which means that the instrument of self and the wisdom that we bring has to be dialed in to be able to make it through this new world.
Correct. We will need to be highly calibrated instruments of inner wisdom heading towards whole self to be able to hear the frequency and the channels of whatever is the energetic signature of not truth with a capital T,
Yeah.
but the thing that we need to move towards, the thing that is right for us as an individual to be moving towards.
I was reading this article yesterday, can't remember where it was, but they were talking about the Enlightenment was the kickoff of the disenchantment of humanity. That was a really interesting concept. They said before the Enlightenment, people saw enchantment everywhere. They would think like sometimes they had superstitions, or they had, like, for good or bad, they had like more of a spiritual kind of like the gods were at play. There was more animism. There was more belief in things and forces outside the self. There was more subjective sense of self. The Enlightenment really brought this, I think it really is where the tokenization of everything came in. It was a disenchanting time, but I think we're about to enter into, in the new world, a very enchanting time again. I do. I actually honestly believe that. I think that there's going to be some disenchantment going forward because there's going to be people that can't let go of that old tokenized 20th century modernist. No, I mean, I'm having struggle letting it go. I'm struggling with it. So I know there's people who are going to struggle with it because it's personal to me. I don't want to let go of the frameworks and external structures I know.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people won't be able to, but there's going to be a few people that are able to let it go and tune into a more enchanted, experiential future.
Yeah.
That won't be able to be articulated.
Yeah.
Like in a clear way, maybe through story or something, but not, this is how this works. Here's my 3-point. Like if I go to church with my parents, like the pastors at their church is still boomer. It's 3-point sermon with like a verse and a point and then sub points. And it's like very structured. And we've even done some of that on the podcast. We have like an outline that we follow.
Yeah.
I think that kind of stuff is useful, but I think in these kinds of contexts, humans, we're not going to need that from each other. We're going to need to tune into the human part.
Yeah.
AI is going to handle all the education stuff.
Yeah.
And the relate and the translates where we're going to end up as humans. But we've had to do so much educate. It's been such a easy place to be that we've kind of gotten safe there.
Yeah.
Not just you and me, but I mean humanity.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why we're going to be really reluctant to let it go is not only is it, like familiar. So it's hard to let go of the familiar.
You mean you and me or society?
Society.
Okay.
Us included. It's familiar. It's the devil we know. It's going to be hard to let go of it. It's how the world has been crafted for so long. Excuse me. But I think the other reason is because think about people who have spent a gajillion dollars getting a diploma from a university.
Yeah.
Right.
For a job that may not exist in 5 years.
That's right. And so it's going to be really hard to contend with the idea that we bought into and we paid so much of our blood, sweat, and tears and as represented in our money.
Yeah.
On something that might be kind of irrelevant pretty soon. And so it's going to be really hard to let that go.
We could bypass the question of what it means to be human because there's just so many things to do. There's so many things to learn and output, and we could almost not have to answer that question and live a full life.
Yeah.
But I think that question is going to be forced upon us.
Yeah.
Within a decade.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean to be human?
Yeah.
If we aren't what we do?
Yeah.
Like if I am not how I contribute or show up in like a value exchange way.
Yeah.
Or even a socially exchanged way. When everything is handled for me. And maybe we don't even need money or resource the way we have in the past.
Yep.
Or it just works very differently than what is it to be human? What are we supposed to do with our lives? Why are we even here on this planet? What is our value, both individually and collectively? Because it certainly won't be to solve the problems of the 20th century or before necessarily.
Yep.
Like some of them still. But that's a big question that's coming back for us.
That's one of the potential futures. There are some potential futures that are kind of bleak, and there are some potential futures that are truly beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think the more people we can have that are modeling what it looks like. Well, there's a few different things in here, and I'm a hammer, so all the world's a nail. But right now, I can't get out of my head the importance of self-regulation as being an absolute cornerstone to what's going to be needed in the upcoming massive transition. Like, it's
information, education, understanding can't do it for you.
No.
AI can't regulate you. You can't
Nothing-
you can't inject something and regulate your emotions or your thoughts.
Well-
I mean, you can
well,
numb
you
them
can.
out. You can numb them out.
You can for a time.
I
but-
guess, yeah, you can inhibit them or numb them
Yeah,
out, but
exactly.
you can't actually like
Yeah.
work with those energies.
But nobody can regulate you sustainably in your own behalf.
Yeah.
You have to build the muscle for it. And we got a comment, and actually it's somebody who is a student of ours who's a lovely person, ENTP preferences. And she was like, I just want to make sure that when you're talking about self-regulation and that nobody can regulate you, you understand that, don't shame or blame anybody for not figuring it out on their own. And we can do what's, we brought up in like the podcast, that series that we did on self-regulation about limited parenting, and you can co-regulate, and there are healthy ways to do it. It's just nobody can build the muscle for you. You have to do it on your own. And I'm almost to a point where I don't even understand why shame and blame exist anymore, right? Like, we're just humans humaning, right? There's no reason to feel blamed or any sense of shame for being where you're at right now. You're the emergent of a system running, which there's some of those things in there that you could choose and you could, that were within your ability to control, but there's a bunch of them that weren't.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that it's going to go away, right? Like, you don't have to feel blame. It's like, oh, and it magically disappeared. I understand that it's like there's a lot of work to cycle out blame and shame from inside of us. But that said, I don't think you should feel blamed or shamed if you can't do self-regulation on your own. But I do think that we have to acknowledge that only we can build the muscle for ourselves. And I can't unsee that there are multiple channels for it. I can't unsee that there's like somatic regulation and emotional regulation and cognitive regulation and existential regulation. I can't unsee it. And we are entering a time period that is going to be massively dysregulating. So
You mean you entering a time period this could be? You don't think we're already in it? I mean, I feel like people, at least online, are massively dysregulated all the time, cognitively especially, and emotionally.
But not everybody's online, right?
Sure.
So all the online people are, but there's a lot of people who aren't. Yeah, no, I think we're in a time period of dysregulation for sure, but I don't think it's anything compared to like what you're talking about, which is who am I what does it mean to be human if I'm not my profession, if I'm not my role, if I'm not, all the things I built
my ego around.
Exactly. I mean, I actually think this is small potatoes compared to the dysregulation we're about to enter in like a mass way. So I can't unsee that one of the absolute best services a person could provide is to not dispense information around regulation, although that's important too, but to model it and tell your story of how you got there.
Yes.
Right? Because it's easy to see somebody's final form and kind of assume they were born that way. But I've observed most people who are good at self-regulating, and even to a point where their nervous system is centered enough to be contagious. And so other people find like an easier ability to find their own, calmer nervous system around them. Not doing their work of self-regulation, in behalf of the other person, but like just modeling it enough so that the person can get a taste. Maybe take that souvenir back with them. Most of those people have had like baptisms by fire.
Yes.
Like they got there through a lot of dysregulation and just having to figure it out. And that's why they're centered. They're centered not because they've never experienced hardship, but because they experienced so much hardship, they had to get to the other side.
Yeah.
And so modeling that and then telling a story of the climb, of the, of like what that looked like, I think is just maybe one of the most important services that we could provide to people.
Yeah.
And then from there, they can go anywhere they want, right? Once you learn the fine art of self-regulation in all of the different ways, then you can choose your own adventure after that. But it's really hard to make any progress if you're in a perpetually dysregulated or an easily dysregulated state. And we've been very coddling of people. We have not taught people how to get through a baptism by fire. We have told them if there's a trigger, you avoid it. We haven't said hang with it, see it as a gift, get to the other side of the trigger. Nobody's saying that. So we have actually, in many ways, and I would say colleges might be some of the biggest enablers. Like honestly, there's just, I look at colleges right now and they just look like big codependent factories to me. I'm not kidding. Like, and
I can't argue.
And when people get out of there, they are not only not prepared for a job market, they're not prepared with any practical skills or, tools. I mean, some of them are. There are some, this is an overarching sentiment. There are plenty of students that leave college that actually are prepared for the life that they chose, but it is a smaller and smaller percentage. And one thing we're not preparing kids for is to figure out how to deal with triggers and dysregulation.
Well, and they're also massively in debt. I mean, we're really harming our young people by putting them in so much.
It's unconscionable.
I mean, it's indentured servitude
It's
by the age of 22.
Yeah.
Like for a piece of paper hanging on your wall that
Yeah.
that probably employers don't actually need anymore.
The
world changes too fast. Is that degree
Yeah.
really up to date with what you needed to know for the thing? Unless it's like you're a doctor or a lawyer or something.
Yeah, it's legacy thinking. And even those institutions need to be reevaluated, honestly. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't get a proper education. There's plenty of people who leave, medical school and they have a proper education to be able to, see patients and stuff, or to intern until they can.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's finger crossed. I mean, that's what I'm hoping too.
I'm assuming they do, yes.
But it's still like the postmodernism is giving us an opportunity to reevaluate our institutions.
Yeah.
And I think what's coming next, by the way, after postmodernism is, and I think that unfortunately the phrase has been hijacked, I believe, by some movement. If you look it up online, I think some people are like, we're this movement. And I'm like, are you? But what comes after postmodernism is transmodernism, right? That's where we would head. We go to a place where we have gotten past most of this. Now, don't read too much into the phrase, but there's going to be we're going to evolve to a place where the postmodernism is no longer sufficient, and we're going to go to the next place. And to your point, I think there's going to be enchantment there. If you look at spiral dynamics, who were the people who saw enchantment? They were Graves levels too, or spiral. Well, I can't remember what the color is, right? Beige. What's blue? Is it purple? Anyway,
yeah, I think so.
Spiral purple or Graves 2. And we're going to go up the Graves levels faster and faster. So we're going to end up at 8, right? Which is the second tier version of 2. If you don't know what spiral dynamics is, go look it up, because it's an incredible model. And we've done podcasts on it. But 8 is the rhyme of 2. And so I think we are going to get into an enchanted place. But it's going to look different, right? It's
not
going to repeat. It's going to rhyme. That said, I think... what are we talking about?
You were lamenting college and how much you don't think it's preparing kids.
Yeah, don't hit the college button for me. But, preparing people. Going back to self-regulation. I think that's one of the just absolute best things that we could do for people.
So here's the hope I have.
Yeah.
I hope that the systems that we're building right now, we're going to have a transition time period where it's going to get chaotic and things are going to break, and there'll be fights and arguments and regulations and pushbacks and battles over it. But after all that settles down, I hope that doesn't take too long. AI, I think, artificial intelligence and robotics and the blockchain, I think, can empower our external structures to take care of us. I almost imagine, I used to work at a zoo a long time ago, and I almost imagine it's kind of like being in the zoo. Like the AI is going to be like our zookeepers in a way, not in an authoritarian way, if it all goes well, but more in a supportive way. Like, yes, the zookeepers could dictate what happens to the animals' lives, but they actually liked the animals and loved them and cared for them and made sure they were okay. In fact, so much so that we had to create in the zoo, I wasn't a keeper, but I watched the keepers do this. They created enrichment activities where they would take a PVC pipe and like put raw meat in it and throw it in the lion den. And then the lions had to spend all day trying to get this meat out.
Yeah.
I was like, why are they torturing the lions? Like, no, it's not torture. It's actually good for them. They like having to puzzle and figure it out. It gives them something to do and keeps them enriched. And I'm like, oh, artificial intelligence is going to have to create enrichment exercises for humans.
Human enrichment.
So we don't get bored and kill ourselves or kill each other.
Right, yeah.
And, like just get crazy. It'll have to and I think AI will probably figure that kind of thing out to keep us sedated and calm. I'm sure the powers that be are doing a little bit of that now.
Yeah.
And
you can tell when we're in an animal enrichment exercise.
Yeah. I'm like, do I really have to fill out all this paperwork, or are you just trying to get me to feel like I'm doing something? I don't know. Anyway, every time I call a number and they're like, enter all your digits. I enter all my codes and digits. And then when I get on the phone with the person, they ask me for all of it again. And I'm like, why did I just spend 10 minutes entering all the information you're going to ask me verbally?
That's right.
They're like, well, I don't know. It's just how the system does it. I'm like, that's an enrichment activity, isn't it? This was just to keep me busy while I was on hold. That's what I think immediately. This is bullshit. What was I going with that? Enrichment activities. Oh, so AI will fade in the background.
Yeah.
It won't be technology in our faces like it is now.
No.
Like these microphones that are in this shot are going away.
Yeah.
Like or whatever. Everything's getting smaller and more invisible. And we'll just move to the world as humans if this all goes well, how I envision it, with AI being supportive, equally distributing resource to as many, probably the entire planet, solving a lot of problems. So it generates a lot of wealth and other things. And, it used to be that a person had to like kill themselves to survive. Like I read Laura Ingalls Wilder's Little House on the Prairie to Piper this year in homeschool. And like we'd read a chapter every morning, and my God, what that family had to do.
Yeah.
Like it lasts like, I don't want to spoiler. It's from the 1800s or 1930s.
Spoiler alert.
1930s. So if you've never read it, sorry, spoiler. But like at the very end of the book, they're on like Native American land. And there's a treaty with the Native Americans. And this guy comes through, he's like, listen, the natives are going to take over this land, and anybody across this line in Kansas has to go. And they're like, oh, okay. Like they built the house with their hands. Right. And they just have to leave because the treaty now says that the like American, European settlers can't be over this line. Right. Because the American government, they can't steal this land. So they bring them back over. They had to leave and this is a true story. They had to like leave the Kansas territory or whatever. Right. Or wherever they were. Maybe Missouri. Why did I say that? You
were talking about AI giving us animal enrichment so that we don't kill ourselves.
I'm like the old guy that's just rambling now. And then in Laura Ingalls Wilder's time in the 18 blah, 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 blah.
I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style of the time.
Then we used to do garlic for... Just going on rambles, old man rambles here. Man, there was a point I was making with that.
Trying to make a point.
I don't remember it. What was...
AI.
Animal enrichment.
I think we were talking about...
Fading in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, the cost of their life was so high. I mean, they're working all day. They're planting and harvesting. He's paws on the back of a horse, hand plowing fields, like with his bare hands.
Yeah, survival was rough.
And then machinery comes in the 20th century, and we cut the workload down, and then we get indoor plumbing, and we get like electricity, and we cut the load down again. Now we're down to like a 40-hour week. A lot of people work from home and don't work that hard sometimes. I'm one of them. It's just like life's you don't have to put the effort in that Ma and Pa did in Laura Ingalls Wilder book to live, to survive physically.
You work very hard. You just don't work hard physically.
Exactly. But not I work hard. My point is though, the nature of my work is different. Right. My hands aren't bleeding, right?
It's like knowledge work.
I don't have they're not calloused and bleeding all the time. I'm not physically putting my body through the ringer, and I am mentally sometimes, but I could have chosen an easier life. I could be doing a lot. I could do a job right now that would pay less and just dial in my brain. I wouldn't have to think. I could do something like that if I had to, maybe not for long. But the point I'm making is that it's like people keep arguing with me that no, we'll always have to have jobs to create money and resources. I'm like, but the cost of everything's going to lower so much, just like it has progressively over time.
Yeah, we're going to robot farming really fast.
I saw a video last night of this robot picking apples off of trees. And I'm thinking, well, that just took away a ton of people's resource making. Yeah. Like overnight. Yeah. Just gone.
No, and
there's China factories now in the pitch darkness because they're all robots running the factories.
They don't even have to turn on lights. Yeah. And so robot farming...
It's happening right now.
It doesn't make food free, but it makes food almost free.
It makes it
will very soon.
It's the equivalent of probably tap water in the United States. Yes. Like tap water is so inexpensive.
Yes.
If a neighbor comes and needs some water, I'll give them like gallons of it. I don't care.
Pennies for gallons.
I'll wash my car with it. Now, certain parts of the country have in our country and other countries probably have different relationship to water. But where I live, that's my reality.
That's right.
And I imagine that the resources will be distributed equally enough, given enough time, and without humans messing with it, which somebody's going to write in like, what about the human component?
Yeah.
Right? Yep. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If we can allow these things to solve our problems, I think that food and resource, you might have to work an hour a week to produce all of your resource for that week, as an example. Now we have to work 40 hours. It used to be we had to work 80 hours. So time and things get democratized. Over time, things get democratized. Things become more equal and cheaper and more available. Yeah. And humans solve problems with tools. That's just the nature of humanity. On a long enough timeline, you can see that progression. Now, in a short time, there's problems we have. We have a lot of social problems, financial problems, economic problems.
Yeah, right now we do.
conflicts, right? It's tough. It's not, I'm not saying the world's perfect, but I could see
there will still be those kinds of problems.
Sure.
They'll just look really different later.
They will look very different.
Yeah.
So I think AI going in the background, I think what we'll end up doing is walking around as humans going, wow, for the first time in human history, we don't have to work for our food in the way that we did.
Yeah.
I told this to somebody recently, like, that's not biblical. God put a curse on Adam and Eve and said, you have to work the ground.
Right.
That'll never happen because God won't allow it to happen. I thought, that's an interesting perspective. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think those kind of things will enter, right? People's belief structures don't want certain things to happen because it conflicts with what they have already pre-believed.
Yeah.
And so they have to fight it on the belief level too, which is another thing that's going to be
We probably
happening.
lost a whole bunch of people because we're talking about AI again. And it's like, I'm always surprised when people are not like, I'm like, we are feeling the first quakes.
These are the little raindrops
of a 9 point on the Richter scale.
Yeah.
Right. And people are like, that's not a thing. And I'm like, how do we not know that this is a thing that's coming? How do we not know? Like, write it down on like whatever piece of paper you have. And I'm like, in 40 years from now, I'm going to call it back and be like, we talked endlessly about this thing that was about to happen. And I'm clearly this is emerging. Anyway, go back to how that's relevant to the podcast and how we're changing it. If it is.
Well, I think that's where I think I'm starting to think in terms of how do we start to get ahead of this and speak to what people are going to need when this stuff starts to happen.
I can't stop thinking about it.
And
I'm like, how do we serve people in that world?
And I think the regulation stuff is really important. And I'll brag about you a little bit. This may not come to fruition, but I want to brag a little about you. We just had, at the time of this recording is the really close to the 150th birthday of Carl Jung.
Yeah.
He was born in 1875, and we just celebrated a week ago, just a few days ago actually, Carl Jung's 150th birthday.
Yeah. Invite only.
It was an invite only for some of our clients and profiler training students. And we had an event we created with Dr. John Beebe and Dr. Dario Nardi and then you and me. So we were kind of celebrating Jung at 150, talking about what can we learn from Jung, but where is Jung going in the next 150 years? Like, what are we looking at? So Dr. Beebe talked a little bit about, the legacy of Jung. I think Dario talked a lot more about AI and the coming changes that are going to be entering the future. And we kind of had this like past future orientation. It was a great day. It was awesome. We recorded it and it's in there for some of our high level clients and students. I say all that to say we were planning with Dr. John Beebe a week before that for this. And you spent like 30 to 60 seconds telling him about your dysregulation thing about those channels.
Oh, I think it was more like 5-10 minutes. But
it felt like 30 seconds. He stops you and goes, you and I need to write a paper and get it published in an academic journal together. Like he looked right at you and said this basically. He's like, I want to help you get, I want to help you get one published. And he wants to work with you on it. Maybe attach his name to it even with you guys. And I'm just like, wow, this is cool. Antonia's like, Dr. John Beebe really thinks it's a good idea enough to want to write something with you academically at that level. Yeah,
it was a feather in a cap.
So maybe you don't crap on colleges so much. Look at that. You get academic stuff if you play nice with the system.
Honestly, I mean...
I'm totally messing with you though.
no shade to anybody who works in or around academia. So it's not a personal. It's just not my thing. And also, I don't really actually care about that as much as I care about John giving me a head pat for my idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very validating.
Well, I just am proud of you.
Thank you.
I wanted to brag a little bit because I knew you wouldn't brag for yourself. And maybe it won't work out. Maybe it may not go anywhere.
Yeah.
But it would be cool in a couple months or years to look back and be like, oh, it's published. Look at this. We got this idea out there and I know you want to work on it.
Yeah, it's cool. So I've been very indulgent, but I kind of feel like I feel complete on this one.
Okay.
But before we end, I want to, we always have this moment on these where we kind of look at each other and go like, hey, we did it.
Yeah.
And I want to have a moment of, once again, going, hey, we did it.
Thank you for doing this with me.
It would not be a thing without you. You have championed this thing for 11 and a half years. It's been something that I probably would have abandoned about 40 times over. And you just kept feeding the engine. And people are not always as kind to you in the comments as they are to me because I tend to do I'm TI, right? I'm introverted thinking. So I have a gift of articulation, which in this context makes it more obvious to see the gifts that I bring. But I just I can't be more grateful to you. for being an engine for this and for creating a platform that I get to talk and hear, like, record my ideas for the last 11 and a half years and have a time capsule of the things that I was thinking and watch myself grow. And I sit and talk, but you have, for many, many, many years, you edited all of them and uploaded them and made sure that they got out and made sure emails went out to people, letting them know that it was a thing. And so, I'm who I am because you have facilitated a lot of richness in my life.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
And thank you for getting me to 600.
Thank you for joining me on it. And I appreciate you too. I think, clearly I have a lot of, technical abilities in production and things, but I think you bring a lot of really rich ideas, insights, and clarity to thought. And one of the things I really appreciate about you as a person, and in a professional context, but also in our personal lives, is how thoughtful you are about everything. Sometimes I even complain about it because you're so thoughtful. I'm like, can you not be this thoughtful? Just give me a quick answer. Like, what do you think? But I mean, I guess I'm telling you something I don't like about you to give you a compliment, but I mean, I do genuinely believe,
I'm receiving it.
I do really think that you're a thoughtful person. And I think you brought that thoughtfulness to the show, to the podcast. I think people have been able to listen and benefit from your thoughtfulness and your careful thought. You don't just take the first thing your brain gives you. You go, wait, let me stress test that. Let me work it out. Let me make sure that's accurate to myself. And I think that is really valuable. Not a lot of people do that. I certainly don't, not to the level you do. And even other introverted thinking accuracy users, I don't think put as much rigor into their thought. But I think you genuinely want good, clean thinking, regulated thinking, and sophisticated thinking. And you've taught me a lot. I've learned a lot about how to think well from you, like just as a person being around you. I think I'm a better thinker now than I've ever been because I'm around you so much. Thank you. And I think it's a gift you give to me, and I think it's a gift you give to other people. So I just want to say I'm grateful to the articulation you bring and the clarity of thought you bring, and the stick-to-itness about, because I know there's been a lot of times you didn't want to show up to these episodes. Yeah. You're like, oh, this is a tough one, man, today. I just can't feel it. I want to do anything else but this. Yeah. But you're a true professional. You're a true person that shows up when you have commitments. You didn't bail. You didn't not do it. It might have been struggle, or maybe it wasn't as ideal as you'd want it to be in a show, but you always would step up. So I really honor that about you. I think you're the real deal on that front. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for 600.
And I don't want to make, I don't want this to sound like this is, sort of like I'm the star of the show and you're the person you platformed and that's how it goes. Because the truth is that you amplify relatability. I'm not very relatable. But you are very relatable. And one thing that you've done in behalf of the audience, and I think that there's a huge percentage of the audience, particularly people who have stuck with us for a long time. I think people see your value. I think they understand the service you render, which is if I'm getting a little too heady, you bring it down. If I'm talking about something that is a harder concept to parse out, you make sure to parse it out. You ask questions that you are pretty sure that the audience, the listener probably wants that question asked. And you bring it to more like actual examples of things. And you bring it to like you soften, you season it so it can be digested and metastasized. Like that's what you do. And I don't think I would be able to do that on my own. So even like when it comes to content and you have brilliant, insightful things to say all the time. Like, I don't want to downplay that. But sometimes it's easier to see the ones that I bring, particularly because of my style of communicating. Yeah. Because I've worked on it. I've worked on being a persuasive, clear communicator. That was important to me. And I've been doing it my entire life. And so it's easy to hear and see that. But I don't think that people would think that about me if it were not for you bridging the gap many times. And so it takes a certain artistry to do that. It takes an artistry to know when to ask the right question, when to bring it down to a story, when to make it more relatable, when to, sort of like make sure that whoever's listening is definitely at the waypoint that I'm talking. And it's a masterful thing you do. So it's not just platforming me. It's like, it's being a true partner.
Yeah.
In all of this. So, so congratulations. You got us. I mean, honestly, you got us to 600 and that's just amazing.
600. Dog. We did it. I love you. I appreciate it.
I love you.
Okay, well, if you've been listening along, if you're still with us.
I can't imagine anybody. How long is this? Hours and hours?
I remember there was, when we did the 500, it was like a 3-hour episode. So we're like, I think we even had wine and we were like celebrating.
That's
and I'm
right.
like drinking. I had no idea how long it took. It was like, I'm not going to worry about
I'm not gonna care.
sticking the landing on anything
That's
here.
right.
I think we shot on the porch when we first moved to our house or something, and it was like we didn't even have the studio set up yet or anything.
Yeah.
So this one's probably a couple hours. I have no idea. Yeah. So if you've been able to listen all
if you're still here,
time, we do have a ton of resources and all sorts of opportunities over at personalityhacker.com for you to come over and look into things anywhere from your personality type, our owner's manuals for your type. We have courses and programs, live courses and programs.
Yeah.
All sorts of cool stuff that's happening. And if you want to come over to Personality Hacker and find out more about that, I recommend you do that. Yeah. Also, while you're there, I'd love to get a comment under this episode. What's coming up for you? You have questions, comments? Do you have feedback for us on the 600th show?
I'd like to, if somebody's still with us, I'd like to hear feedback about how we can ameliorate the show from other people's perspective.
What would you like to see?
Yeah, what would you like to see and hear? And like, what do you think? How could we refresh it? How could we blow some life into it?
Let me guess. I want to hear the intersection of personality type and mental health. Can you guys do something on that? Like every time we ask that, it's like a million of those. Like everybody wants to. You read an article recently that was talking about this, right? The idea that there's no personality types anymore. The intersection
of like personality and mental health. Yeah, there was a really great article that came out. I think it was on the Free Press where somebody said nobody has personalities anymore. They just have mental disorders. It's like there's a certain generation of people who have decided that like having some sort of mental health problem or
I can't just be a perceiver.
No.
I have to be like I have to have time
blindness. Right.
Or I can't,
Yeah, you can't just be an introvert, it can't just be shy and introverted. You have to be like socially phobic.
Yeah.
And so so I think
maybe that's what's been happening the whole time.
Maybe that's why
maybe Carl Jung was way off.
Yeah.
It's like these are just disorders. I didn't even know. I thought they were type. I thought it was personality. Everybody's just really effed up. That's all.
To be fair, in psychological types, he is talking about the problem of personality and the problem of all these psychological challenges, right? So he is talking about the problem of, but I mean, the intersection is that if we become one-sided, it's disordered behavior.
Yeah.
And also that a lot of people don't think about personality anymore. They just want to talk about mental health. And I think it's because that's become the new personality. So there's a crossover right there. And I guess that could be a whole episode or maybe something we could play around with at some point. That'll also be very triggering to people. This idea that like we're replacing personality with mental health issues.
Triggering for who? The people that like personality, the people that like mental health?
The people who are doing it. Because there's a huge swath of people who are doing it right now that they as opposed to just seeing things as native wiring, they have to pathologize it. And so that's a bit of a triggering topic, but you know what? Triggers are gifts. So get to the other side.
Oh,
yep. All triggers are gifts. Don't avoid them. Just get right in them. If we didn't just lose everybody, there's like some great stuff over at Personality Hacker, and then come tell us what you'd like to see in the future. In terms of like kind of what we're talking about, not a specific topic for an episode. I mean, don't worry. We have a gajillion ideas for topics for episodes. That's never something that we run out of.
Themes in like, what do you mean by give us some ideas? How could somebody that maybe doesn't think about this all the time really tune into what you're saying?
Good question. So things like, are the episodes too long? Do you want them to be shorter? Could they be more frequent as opposed to 1 hour plus? Well, it's 2 hours on this one, I think at least. But an hour plus or minus episode every time, every Monday that comes out. Would it be better to have like shorter multiples throughout the week? Would it be good to answer people's questions almost exclusively, or do we stick with evergreen content or not? We won't talk about anything political, but I've actually been kicking around the idea of like doing a series on like how to think about issues in the world right now. Like
The problem is that's always political because people won't let it not be political. Any topic you bring up that's current, immediately people overlay politics onto it. So that's why I'm like, ugh.
I think we could do it without being political. And I mean, to some extent, it's like somebody else's problem if they make it political.
That's
like,
true.
I didn't make it political, you did. And so that's your problem, not mine. And then going, well, that means you think this and this and this. And I think I'm starting to like be okay with hemorrhaging those people out. I have to be honest. Like if the audience, if a person is insistent upon telling me what I think, they're clearly not listening to the podcast, right? Like I will not let people put me in tidy political boxes because I'm legitimately not. And so if a person's like, well, you sound a little too liberal, you sound a little too conservative, I'm like, well, you sound a little too tribal. Like, sorry, I got out of a cult a long time ago and I will not be re-entering one. But there's a group of people who legitimately want to ameliorate how they think about things. And nobody teaches it. Nobody teaches how to do truly clean thinking. And so I don't know, like, would you be interested in hearing, like not what to think, but how to think? Now that's very teaching, but I think the best way to do that is also through stories and through narratives and that sort of thing. I mean, I'm really on this narrative thing. I don't know if I'll be able to follow through with it because I'm really terrible at it, but I want to learn the new skill of it. But anyway, so like shorter episodes, longer episodes, more interviews, more frequency, less frequency. Like, I mean, I'm just curious. So anyway, or you don't have to at all and we'll just figure it out.
I know one thing that you should do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done this at our Profiler training event. Mm-hmm. And I think we should probably, I don't know how this will be released. I think it'll probably be something that would be useful to have as a paid product, like a paid something. Not expensive, but something that people trade value for, because I've noticed that when you give things away for free online, they're not valued as much.
No.
So most of it is just so people respect it. But I think you could do some audio meditation tracks where it could help people, because it's not just story or other thing. It's also kind of like attunement of thought.
Yeah.
Like almost like thought meditations, like Marcus Aurelius 2.0. I know it's like this. It's the idea of like maybe helping somebody like tune into their day or frame their thoughtful day or something. Or maybe when somebody's dysregulated cognitively, there's a way they could tune into something audibly that could help regulate or give them a sense of like how to think about regulating.
Yeah.
I don't know. These are ideas that I'm trying to think in terms of how do we help build things that are real practical and useful that would help people live life better.
Totally.
Making personality type operational, making it more applicable.
Yeah.
Giving people more agency, those kinds of things.
And modeling it. Yeah.
Modeling what that looks like.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. You have to at least ask, and I'll ask for you this time.
Okay.
Will you please come over and give a rating and review on Apple Podcasts for Antonia? When she reads these, it fuels her soul, and it will keep her going past the 600th episode in whatever format or however we decide to ameliorate this.
Yeah.
She tends to read all of them. She reads all of them that come in. Sometimes goes back and reads them. And appreciates everyone. And will show me, Joel, we got a new review. Not just a rating. Ratings are great.
Yeah.
Especially if it's 5 stars. Now, I don't know if this matters to the algorithms and the podcasting world as much, but it definitely, because I think that most people listen to podcasts if they're going to do an audio podcast on something like Spotify, et cetera.
Yeah.
Some other, they're doing it on whatever tool they use. I think Apple lost that game stupidly years ago. But it actually matters to you because that feedback helps fuel you. And that's just where they've been collected for so long. So that's where it matters the most for you.
And Spotify doesn't do reviews.
That's right. At least not at the time of this recording.
Not right now anyway. So it's like the only place to actually get feedback is in comments and then in reviews. Yeah. And comments are usually podcast episode specific, but a review is like a general statement. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'll also ask, this is also for us too. We just sent an email out to our email list recently, but you might be listening or watching and not be on that list. I asked people if you get value out of this, if you'd be willing to possibly donate to the show. Even like $5 or $10 a month can really help. But we don't do advertising. I mean, sometimes YouTube puts ads around it that we can't turn off, but we don't have advertising like sponsors for this. We just subsidize it out of our own pocket, basically. And so anything can help us keep going. There's hosting costs and production costs, a lot of things that we have to do for it. And I think that if you want to head over to personalityhacker.com/donate, there's a button there where you can help out the show on either a one-time or even monthly basis. We had a lot of people respond to that for $5 or $10 a month. And by the way, if you're one of those people, I'm really grateful to you. Thank you. Totally. Because it really helps us keep going. And there's one person gave us like a really big gift, which is really nice. It was
Was one of our Profile
Really
training
appreciative.
students who's also been through Personality Life Path.
very gracious gift.
So generous. Thank you so much, Ashley. That was a very kind gift.
Yeah.
And another person gave a fair bit. So.
And the amounts are wonderful when they're big amounts.
Yeah.
But even a token amount, maybe you can't afford a huge, but something small shows that, this matters, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that when everybody overwhelmingly came in and started to kind of give small donations, I was, and large ones too, I was really honored to say, okay, people find value in this, because sometimes it's hard to know when there's no transaction occurring.
Correct. Yeah.
Do people find value? But when there's a gift back, it's like, oh, okay, so this is something it kind of gave me some inspiration to keep moving.
Totally. Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. My name is Joe Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
And we'll talk with you on the next Personality Hacker Podcast.